And there we are,
Matt's
we are
first
live.
Matt's first ever blocked person from his stream list.
Not so far. Right then, it's just past 7. Apologies for the late start. We'll get going just as soon as we run that intro, which will be as soon as I turn off the plinky plunky, if you can hear it. And let's throw us into the... Where did I put it? There it is. Right then, howdy folks, welcome to the further misadventures of the USS Navis. I think I'm having a couple of sound issues tonight. In fact, I'm fairly certain I am. So I'm gonna throw on some Sirenscape and throw on some background ambience for the general ship noises. And if anybody who's watching in chat can let us know if they can hear anything, that would be awesome. But as long as you can hear us, that's the most important thing, and I'll settle with just that if that's just the case. However, let's get moving on anyway, because we are at the start of a new episode tonight. And that means, of course, that one of the first things we do before going any further with the episode is we look towards our list of ongoing scientific experiments. Or we look to start new ones.
Science.
I just realised we're missing a Natala again.
I see John in the list, but he's not with us yet, so we'll see. Maybe just a late arrival. However, oh yeah, actually that's a good point, because Natala was doing a bit of experimentation on running numbers to do with using Tilical technology, or trying to recreate Tilical technology's tractor beam. That was experienced some time ago. Now I also hasten to note that Dr. Bertram had an experiment going with trying to, or a long-term project going, trying to create organic-grown medical grafts requiring no technology. Sophia had successfully created the template to be used as like a scaffolding. So I suppose it comes down to whether or not he wants to start the second stage.
I thought the template hadn't currently been successful because xenobiology wasn't the correct path.
Oh, yep, I'm misreading my own notation here. That's how out of sorts I am. Yes, xenobiology was tried last. Very good.
Yeah.
So you tried botany, then xenobiology. Right? Yes, of course. That had run its course. That was it. That's why I'm finding the full number of successes achieved. So yeah. 2 down, 3 to go, I suppose. So the hypotheses remaining are biotechnology, biology, and surgery.
Yep, I was going, as this is foundation, next one I was going to try was biology.
Biology. Alright then, so I believe there were a pair of young and able assistants.
Yes, Fiesel and Eric.
Oh no, sorry. I was thinking of the other one.
So the doc had acquired a pair of young and eager science assistants, Ensign Jenny Eric and Ensign Fiesel. The only important number is the number of buttons on his console. 1, says Claus. Right, sorry. Late to the game on that one. So, yes, if this is using biology as a means inwards, so Ensign Feazar herself has a focus in biology. Ensign Jenny Eric, however, does not. But she's
I'm
can
not
use her botany
angry,
focus.
I'm just disappointed.
That's only because she's generic. You know, we can't help it.
She does, however, have a botany focus, and since we're still technically doing plant-based experimentation, then it would make a certain degree of sense to use botany as a focus. So, if I can have 2 volunteers to be our lovely assistants, because of course the lead on this is going to be Gareth with Dr. Bertram.
Yep.
I suppose the question is Navis allowed to roll yet?
Not for this one.
All right then. So that takes one of you out.
Yeah.
Let's think. Shall we have Webby and Jan? You can be either.
Nope, not rolling.
Go on then, I'll take Jenny. Well, we're all in science and
So this is going to be resonance science.
reason and science. You said, did you say I got she got botany as a focus?
Yes, indeed. So both Feazal and Eric are rolling just 1 dice because they are assisting. Bertram, of course, is rolling 2 dice because he is the Hi, Mary.
Yeah.
Webby, you're banned.
Awesome.
Jenny is, and Feazal is not.
Oh, it totally is. Nailed it, cake.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend a point of determination for Researchers Foundation.
Yep.
Seems appropriate.
Four successes. So, there's a bit of an accident during this particular round of
affected by whatever disease you've just created, or parasitic regrowing organism.
So, essentially, I am going to use that complication to scrub one of the accumulated successes. Basically, Jenny gets something wrong, and it corrupts one of the plant specimens that you're growing. Unfortunately, so that particular specimen has to be thrown out, leaving just the remaining ones that Bertram and Feazal were able to actually cultivate.
And that's what happens when you try to use botany in a biology fight.
Yeah. So, yes, and Ensign Eric looks a bit sheepish after that, because now the numbers, she's set back the progress a little bit. She apologizes profusely.
I tell her the failures are always good because we learn more from our failures than we do from our successes.
However, don't do it again.
I'm trying to actually keep her confidence up and her belief in the power of science.
Was it Lab 1
Also,
or Lab
I
2 we
to
can
be a
shut
dick.
down for cleaning this week? Well, it's Wheaton's Law, and we obey Wheaton's Law here on this show.
Yes, from the great philosopher, prior or possibly just after the Great War against Carnoonian soon.
Was it Lab 1 or 2 we could shut down for cleaning this week, boss? Well, I don't know about cleaning, but at least in one of the botany labs, yes. Plant specimen kind of turns brown and withers.
Yeah.
Maybe lets off a bit of a pong, but that's about it, thankfully.
There's a strange smell.
Indeed. The one who's not present currently would be John with Natala, so we can't go with what Natala's project is just yet, so we'll have to move on from there. So it basically comes down to whether or not anybody else has any projects of their own they'd like to get started on, or if they're happy with the way things are at the moment. With no answer, I'm going to assume everything's okay for the moment, so we will move on. So, I'm just going to switch our ambience for all the difference it makes. Alright then. Gareth, I do believe I gave you something to read to us all.
Yes, you did indeed. Time come, I take it?
The time, as they say, has come.
Refuse, Gareth. Don't give in to the peer pressure.
Only give in to our peer pressure. Peer pressure.
Peer pressure?
Yeah, pressure.
Peer pressure?
Blah, 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 blah.
Well, I was going to give in to the peer pressure, but it was garbled, so message not received, so...
Alright then. Carry on.
Chief Medical Officer's Log, Stardate 50351.3. Starfleet has received a distress call from the Yule Minor system, citing a disease outbreak on the third planet's colony. This disease apparently doesn't match any in the Federation's current database, so a specialist disease response team will need to be dispatched. With the Yule Minor colony being so close to the border with the Klingons, Starfleet has deemed it appropriate to dispatch the Navis to escort the disease response team after we rendezvous with them at Starbase 12. My medical staff and I will be on hand to assist our guests in whatever way we can.
Oh God, he's going to be in heaven.
This is where we cut to Dr. Bertram, trailing only slightly behind Captain Ducasse and Commander Andrews as they head towards Transport Room 1. Whereupon they enter to find Lieutenant Latude, still with that magnificent moustache, sat behind the console as everybody files in. Captain Ducasse turns to Dr. Bertram. What do you know of our expected guest, Doctor?
Yes, Dr. Yehandi Ram. She studied and graduated from the Vulcan Science Academy under Dr. Sabar, if you're aware of her. She's a very renowned medical scientist. Dr. Ram is now one of the most renowned disease response specialists in Starfleet, and indeed many of her breakthrough techniques are now standard practice for dealing with disease outbreaks used across the Federation. She was actually approached to enter the Symbiosis Institute, but she decided on Starfleet Medical instead.
Impressive. Lady obviously knows her stuff then.
A Trill attending the Vulcan Science Academy, that's pretty prestigious.
Well, given that she's now generally recognised as being the disease response specialist in Starfleet, I would imagine that they picked up very quickly on her talents and decided they didn't want them to go to waste.
I hope you're not going to geek out on us, Doctor.
When have I ever not been professional, Commander? Talking about professional, you haven't even given me excuses for missing the last few lectures lately.
Duty roster management, some war going on, Doctor.
You can't keep on just giving your spot to Edwards.
Mr. Latude, shall we be my guest? Don't want to keep them waiting too long.
Thank God, I thought you'd never ask. I mean, yes, sir, immediately, sir. We've just received notice that the good doctor's ready, waiting on your order. Then by all means, Mr. Latude, energize. So, you'd indeed have a female Trill and a human, somewhat younger human, who is laden with various pads and a couple of kit boxes as he's trying his best not to drop some of them, whilst the Trill Doctor walks down the transport pad to greet you all. Captain Ducasse, I presume? She nods towards the captain, who nods back. And Dr. Bertram, it's good to finally meet you in person at last.
It's good to meet you as well, one of the foremost specialists in Starfleet Medical.
Yes, well, forgive me if I don't stick around for all the usual honorifics, but we have a colony that has a disease outbreak and needs our help, so if maybe you could show me and my assistant here to the lab we'll be using whilst we're here on the Navis, that would be great. We can walk and talk.
Of course, Doctor. By leave, Captain, I'll direct them to the sickbay area.
Very well. Number one, feel free to accompany them. I'll be on the bridge.
Thank you, Captain. It would be an honour.
So, walk and talk. Where are we? Da 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 da. So, Commander, Doctor, and Assistant trailing behind. Let's have you in a generic corridor as you're moving through the ship.
My God, we've walked right into the wrestling night again, haven't we? And I see you've invited to change me as the referee.
Not supposed to tell the visitors about our captured changeling battle fights. That's why we haven't got a battle bridge. It's still in
isn't
space
the battle
dock.
bridge the normal bridge in this ship?
Yes.
In this bit, we changed the bulbs.
Okay, walking and talking. If you have questions...
Yes. I'm going to offer Lieutenant Hunsley a hand.
At which point he kind of looks over at Commander and goes, "Oh, thanks. If you could just take that," and he kind of offers one of the medical cases.
You do realise that we could have just transported the cases directly to Big Bay.
Not exactly true, Commander, replies Dr. Rom. Some of the items and equipment we've brought are somewhat sensitive in nature, and therefore they're less likely to deteriorate if we bring them in manually rather than via a matter transporter. I'm sure Dr. Bertram has told you as some of the methods I use tend to be breakthrough. But they're all... nope, Matt's forgotten words. Doesn't matter. Some of our materials are quite sensitive and therefore cannot be transported via matter transporter. Therefore, a good majority of my staff are at this moment still on the starbase, putting together our itinerary onto a shuttle to be shipped over to the Navis before we depart. The same goes for some of the items my assistant, Mr. Hunsley, is carrying. So if you could make sure that you're extra careful with those, Commander. Well, let's talk about what we know so far. So, according to what we know, the distress signal from Yule Minor 3 was sent by the colony administrator, a Mr. Taryn Gant, human. The colony is the only one on Yule Minor 3, and is, by all relative terms, rather small. Yule Minor itself is uninhabited, except for the colonists themselves, of course, and is mostly arboreal in nature. There are other animal life forms present, but nothing we would call sentient. The colony was only recently set up, say 3 or so months ago, They were dispatched there by no one but their own initiative. Apparently, they see themselves as planetary surveyors. Civilians, for the most part. They're doing it to explore this mostly uncatalogued planet. Initial reports from the colony said that there was no contact with outside forces since their initial founding. The colony itself only has a small medical personnel, so they were quickly overwhelmed as the majority of their colonists started falling ill with this mystery disease. We were only able to be sent preliminary data on the disease's initial readings, which is how we know that there were no known entries in the Starfleet medical database. No further contact has been had with the colony, which suggests to me the situation has started to get rather bad down there, and they might be so overwhelmed, or nobody's left healthy enough to be able to man the comm stations. Now, you'll forgive me for making this observation, Commander, but this is an Akira class and not an Oberth or a Nova class, so what's the status of the science labs on this ship?
We have an ample collection of science labs. This ship is not a standard Akira class, if that's what you mean.
Good, glad to hear it. I'm going to need a specific lab or series of labs, an entire section of them set up for my staff and the equipment. We're going to need to at least use what little information we currently have to start trying to formulate a plan of action and a plan of treatment.
If you put all requests into Commander Natala, I'm sure that she will accommodate your every need, Doctor.
Excellent. Dr. Bertram, I assume your medical staff will be on hand for any reasons we might need you?
Yes, our medical staff and facilities are at your disposal, Doctor.
Excellent. You eventually come to a stop outside one of the entrance to the science wing.
Yeah.
Well then, I assume there's no other questions. In that case... Thank you. In that case, Commander, most of my staff are going to be arriving soon via shuttle. If you could take this pad, and she hands you the pad. This contains an itinerary of all the items we'll be bringing on board. Those ones which are not necessarily hazardous, but are fragile, have been labelled as such. And my assistant, Mr. Hunsley, has a list of items and equipment we'll be needing during our stay here on the Navis. Hunsley? At which point the assistant sorts through all his various pads and then hands one over to the commander. We'll start setting up shop immediately, if you don't mind, Commander. Someone else can show us to our quarters later on. If that's all?
Yes, dismissed, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Commander. Let us know when we're ready to depart. Right. Switching back.
Just so you know, Bertram is going to inform the commander that he'll be setting up standard. What's it called?
Changeling identification.
No, I was going for the isolation when there's a potentially contagious disease. The
quarantine.
Dealt with. Quarantine. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Aha. Right,
in case of basically.
Changelings.
Well, changes is more of a security matter. I mean, I can arrange to have that standard stuff done as well, but there are going to be various procedures that are standard done when dealing with unknown pathogen or disease, even if it's not intended for it to be dealt with on the ship or in planetside instead, just on the chance that something unexpected happens.
Okay.
Yeah, again, Andrews will say, please forward any request to Commander Natala, because the attitude of the Doctor is that, yeah, she's definitely a specialist, and it just irked Andrews that little bit.
Woman on a mission.
Yep. Too focused on her.
That's strange. You didn't seem to react different to her ever than you do to me when I'm talking about moss and stuff.
That's because I've got used to you, Doctor.
You're also not as driven. You
I'll
take
have
the
to
time
try.
to explain.
I'll have to try harder.
Okay. It takes around about 20 minutes before the shuttle from the starbase arrives and docks. With the itinerary, of course, it being medical gear, especially for a disease outbreak, itinerary has to be made. The itinerary has to be counted to make sure everything's got, but, you know, the EXO can foist that on whoever she desires, of course.
Well, we
More
can
than likely
give
someone
it to
down
the,
in.
give it to the flight deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Manager.
Flight deck operators. We'll go with that. So, after confirmation is sent back, and the shuttle that brought the medical personnel to your ship lifts off, the Navis is given the all-clear signal to leave. So, naturally, the Yule Minor system is on the border of the Federation and the Klingon Empire. Therefore, you know, some degree of caution is going to be asked for, but this is a disease outbreak as well, so a degree of haste is also worth enacting. So, what was I looking for? Into warp. The order is soon given. To go to warp. It should be a matter of a good many hours, but less than a day, before the Navis reaches the Yule Minor system. During that time...
Wow.
Go on.
So I thought you were pausing now, I'll let you finish.
No, that's fine. Okay. So during that time, Dr. Ram's staff, which consist of not only Lieutenant Hunsley, who's apparently the technician rather than one of the medical specialists. So Hunsley, as well as being Dr. Ram's assistant, is the guy whose job it is to basically set up the medical equipment. But there are another 4 nurses that are attached to Dr. Ram's that are attached to Dr. Ram as her staff, so they all get set up in the science labs that have been allocated for them. And so, yes, since you've got the advantage of, or the talent rather, the ship talent of modular laboratories, you luckily do not need any kind of modification to the ship in order to outfit these guys for their mission. So, once again, the Navis proving how versatile and awesome she is. Converted to laboratories as and when required. So there we go. So the Dr. Ram and her staff start setting up to do their job, basically. So, Davis, what was it you were going to say?
Dr. Bertram, could myself and Mr. Lachude have a moment of your time before we get out of warp?
Yes, I'll... do you want me to meet you in person?
Right. Probably be easier.
Okay. Give me a few moments. I'll have just brief Nurse Bravo so she continue the quarantine preparations, and I'll be over.
That's actually what we need to talk to you about.
Okay. Bertram will basically ask Nurse Bravo to carry on with them while he goes over to speak to Vibers.
Okay, yep. Nurse Bravo is
Right.
more than capable, so...
Yeah.
So, we've got a colony medical emergency going on. What do we need to do? What modifications do you think we're going to need? What changes do you think we're going to need to sort out? And any special precautions we should be taking?
Well,
we're tuned into this because he's the most qualified of any of my lot for anything disease related.
I am?
Well,
You're the only one who knows how those medical filters work.
Yeah, that's kind of the computer's job, but okay.
yeah. Probably, if there is a complication, which I'm hoping there isn't, the main possibility is because this is an unknown disease, the initial information we got isn't in Starfleet's databases. There is the possibility that using transporters might actually let it through, as I understand it, because it's not necessarily going to find it because it doesn't have the exact information to see it to actually compare to. So its filters would depend on the standard scans picking something up. Whether or not that would be the case for this particular pathogen,
do you want really some old-fashioned decontamination chambers set up near the hangar deck? Or in the hangar deck?
Well, as I understand it, in theory, if everything goes right, the treatment would be happening on the planet. The Navis is basically supposed to be escorting and guarding because of the planet's close location to the Klingon border. Obviously, the reason we have the quarantine protocols is because unexpected things can happen, unexpected emergencies that might require an Navis intervention. Sick bay can provide sealed off via force fields for small numbers. It might not be the worst idea to, as a precaution, convert a cargo bay or somewhere similar to have decontamination chambers. Obviously, they can't be regarded as 100% effective until the nature of the disease has been identified. But better to be safe than sorry, as they said.
Okay.
Can I just ask, sirs, why are we not including the captain and the XO in this? This kind of looks a little shifty.
I want to get what extra info we need before we corner them for extra info. Now we've had this chat, it probably is worth bringing up in the morning's briefing with the captain.
Oh, I get it. You want to make it look as if you've thought all this through already, which is why you asked him.
Why do you think we always have answers when we're in the meetings?
Because you've swatted up beforehand, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So it makes you look like you know this stuff when you in fact don't.
Why do you think I give you a 10-minute warning before I call you in?
Yeah, thanks for
your latest project. With it Vibers, managing expectations.
Yeah. That was a joke, yeah.
I can neither confirm nor deny. But
isn't that an engineering 101 taught by Mr. Scott? Overcook your estimate.
Well,
because then you seem like a wonder engineer.
That was a factor of 5.
He's running for the top job at the moment. I wonder if he'll get it.
Well, all I can say, sirs, is that the biofilters on the transporters are working, last I saw.
I'd run an extra diagnosis on them before we get there, just to be sure.
Yay, because, that takes hours.
Would you rather we're doing it now or with the captain breathing down your neck?
Point taken.
There's also in the from what Dr. Arm said, they're likely to request a shockcraft rather than beaming down to the planet due to some of the equipment that they need to use and the materials they need to use not necessarily being great for transporters.
Oh, so I'm in fact entirely superfluous to events here.
You're the backup.
Excellent, just
the one we'll
like
desperately need.
Yeah. Fine. Right. Well, if you need me then, I'm going to be doing a diagnostic on the biofilters. Again.
And between this meeting and the next time we talk to the captain, because it is we've got quite a few hours on this one. Bravo's got a team decontaminating a shuttle in advance.
That's good to hear. One thing that does worry me because of the vicinity to the Klingon border is if the Klingons noticed we're here and decide to do one of their let's harass the Navis campaigns. If they see us in a guarded position over the colony, they might decide to harass the colony to get to us.
Now I'm definitely going to scrubbing the transporters, because that was a brilliant thing to think about. Thank you for that, Doctor. I'm gonna... Yeah.
Glad
and
to
he
have
goes
helped.
off.
Okay, so as suggested, which makes a hell of a lot of sense, the next point is the captain's briefing before we come out of warp, I think.
Okay.
Has anyone else got anything else they want to prep?
Does any other member of the crew have anything they want to prep? Gareth, you say something?
I would probably be asking that our resident power specialist is making sure that the
Blur.
labs have their own. The labs have their own emergency power system, so that they're plugged into the emergency backup. Because if we've got contamination for a potentially deadly virus, I don't want it getting out of the labs.
Good thinking. Good thinking. Yep. So obviously, anyone making requests through ops will have to, of course, be given the consideration that yes, the disease outbreak analysis lab will need special priority. Okie dokie.
VA suits and stuff be prepared for when the group goes down. So given it's unknown disease source, they assume that they're going to be provided in case it's gone airborne.
All right then, that will be taken into consideration as well.
Yep.
Excellent. Anything else, preparations-wise, or any thoughts or questions or whatever from anybody?
I'd like for the current brain is not working tonight. But the current battlefield, kind of like how the war's going, along with all system-wide readiness for conflict, just in case.
Alrighty. Well, the situation by this point, as far as the conflict with the Klingons goes, is where are we now, actually? We are in... So that was the day after. The day after that, you are 1, 2, 3, 4... You're now 5 months and about a week into the conflict with the Klingons, so this is now the point where it's dragging out. The Klingons are adjusting their tactics to do, I think it was Davis, or was it John, that reminded me of I think it was John actually. The Klingons are now altering their tactics so that they realize that their ships don't always match up that well against Federation ships, so now they're trying tactics to make sure that when they do face Starfleet, they face a tired and overworked Starfleet. So, 5 months
just
in...
Just like honor demands.
So 5 months in, this is where that tactic is now starting to show a little bit.
Dude, you said earlier the colony was set up about 3 months ago, is that right?
Yep.
Which means they set up a colony close to Klingon space when there was the actual conflict going on. That was silly of them.
Well,
no one said that they were
Federation Science Department.
Yeah, they do what they want.
We've not met it. You've just seen what they've done. multiple times.
I didn't say I was surprised. Disappointed is the word.
Letting the side down. Yeah.
Yeah. You go to paraphrase Spock. Even science must give way to reality.
Well. Yes, well, I suppose, like many in Starfleet and the Federation, they were hoping for a swift resolution, and maybe these guys were just optimists. Look where they are now. Well,
Look where they are now, in bed ill.
I could go on a tangent there, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop there before I go any further. Okay. So, it's now been a good many hours into the journey. Let me consult my notes a sec. Actually, let me tidy my notes up here. Let's get rid of that. Yule Minor is not far away, and neither is the Klingon border. In fact, the Klingon border is getting very, very close now, as the path to Yule Minor takes you across the outer part of the Federation that does jut up against the Klingon Empire's border a little too closely. So this is where people's hackles raise just a little bit in readiness, in preparedness. But so far, nothing. And I'm going to move us down to engineering.
Oh boy.
So, Edwards, how is that new cargo bay with all the security fields and the decontamination stuff going on?
No errors yet, sir. So everything seems to be going reasonably.
Wait, Viber's asked a changeling to make sure that this containment was Vibers.
Yes.
Under him now, so yes.
Still asked
Would
the
you rather
changeling.
I ask the changeling to manage the power system around the labs?
When will you please drop that?
Still
Oh,
can't see your
dear.
character sheet, you're a changeling.
No, it's not.
Let me just check. Can I access Mr. Edwards' character sheet? Oh, I can now. He's quickly changed to the species from human to from changeling to human, I see.
Yeah,
that's the
quickly,
thing.
because you know how fast I type.
Yeah, good point, actually. He changed it last week. He pre-planned.
Sadly, this is what in the Navy they call hazing the new guy.
How long have they technically been hazing?
Long time.
It's been at least a decade of hazing. You should be over it by now.
Definitely 6 months or so, possibly a year. I don't know. I've lost count.
One of the people that I know from university is still known as Fresher, bearing in mind I graduated 10 years ago.
Yes. There's just a moment.
So on that note,
Yeah. There's just a moment that Edwards notices something weird in the power throughput, but it's gone just as quickly. Having a look, there was a moment, a minuscule jump in power to the warp field regulators.
Commander, something is blipped.
right, let's
on
have
the
a look.
regulators.
So this will be a
Looks
good
fine
chance.
at the moment.
Yeah, this will be a good chance to get some early momentum if you should need it. So, by all means, a control and engineering check.
Would I be assisting or would I be
Either.
leading?
Whoever's happy
You're
to do
leading
whatever.
this one. Because you're the one showing me what you just found.
So, teacher is going to be looking over your shoulder just to see what it is you know. 2 and 4, not bad at all. Ba-bom, 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 ba-bom. So that's over half the momentum pool filled. Yeah, there was a momentary spike in the power draw, just tiny spike in the power draw to the starboard nacelle, but it went back to normal again soon after. It's not immediately obvious what that could be. I mean, you're currently going at within allowed warp speeds, so we're talking about warp 5, with a little bit of extra juice pushed in just to keep us going fast enough to answer the call from your miner. But
pop a warning on that, just in case it comes up again.
Yeah.
So is there anything potential we could do just to a more in-depth diagnosis, given the sensitive nature of what we're about to do?
With all of those,
anything goes wrong.
With all of those successes, I would suggest that you did give the system a good going over. So using the information coming to you from here in engineering, there was a momentary jump in power being drawn from the starboard nacelle, but it's gone back to norms now. So the only thing that you could conceive of would be maybe a little bit of the equivalent of turbulence in space, which could be suggested
We'd put
by
a note in the navigation log.
Yeah.
It's probably just something they haven't hit before. But if you're worried about it, I'd do a diagnostic on the warp field just to check integrity. Won't take more than 5 minutes.
Alright then.
You've done half of it.
So we're going to jump back to the bridge now, as we go for bridge ambience.
We do send a notification to Keval's console though, because it's something to do with the engines he's using to fly the ship.
Right, so on the bridge at Helm, Keval gets a little notice from engineering about that momentary power spike on the starboard nacelle. Everything else seems to be working okay. The ship's proceeding at regular speed. Until
looks at it and goes, he's put it up to medium difficulty setting.
That's when you get a sudden notice from the computer. Warning, warp field destabilizing. And I'm going to push us over to... I'm also going to push us over to Nova, as Fazanan notices that it's not exactly that the speed of the ship is dropping, but it's as if the warp field is having trouble maintaining itself, and so the ship is throwing extra power. The engines are throwing extra power in to try and keep up the speed, and so Keval is starting to.
What did you do?
Notice some energy outputs on the engines are starting to climb, and in a similar fashion, Nova is noticing that the power requirements on the port nacelle are starting to go up.
Engineering. I'm detecting strange power fluctuations to the warp engines.
And that's when you start feeling the ship begin to rattle.
Can we do an emergency shutdown of the of warp?
So you just flag up the diagnostic. Is it the same area that blipped up before we put the warning on it?
Rather than flagging up the diagnostics, I'd prefer that we shut down the warp field, please.
In that case, yes, the first officer's requesting a shutdown of the warp core. The captain
presumably
agrees.
Would be heading that up.
Yeah, it'd be an
So
all-stop request rather than a shut down the warp core. Just shut the warp core down.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. Just turn it back up and on. I mean,
Unplug it and plug it back in.
Tucker did the 1 minute restart of the warp core, so it is possible, you know.
And then the ship lurches just as you're about to hit the off button. I don't have the module anymore to shake the ship, I'm afraid. So the ship lurches.
Yeah, Shaun, just go back and forth.
As
Everyone lean in the chair. Everyone lean in the chair.
the
Left.
right,
I'm back.
forward a bit, back. Okay. The power goes out in multiple systems. Communications and weapons are knocked out. Shields are knocked down to 60%. The computer
And the other
then
fields
sends a
were-
warning that the starboard nacelle is offline. The port nacelle is now struggling to keep up.
Oh, stop.
Well, yeah, indeed. It's at this point that, yes, the engineers are able to actually hit the brakes on this thing. Just check my ambience a sec. Notes. Excuse me. So yes, the ship is immediately dropped out of warp as quickly and as safely as it possibly can be, before the system overloads and causes a breach. As soon as the core is shut down, the ship is somewhat violently dropped out of warp, as the warp drive and impulse engines are knocked down, and unfortunately, it seems the propulsion systems have all been knocked out, including the thrusters. The Navis is now drifting.
Can I start analysing the data on where the power surges originate from, trying to determine where the source of the problem occurred?
Okie dokie. Can I get you to give me a control and engineering check to the tune of 1 difficulty, please?
I'm doing a similar thing from my end, immediately checking like what was flagged up before.
Do you want to assist this rolling?
Certainly.
Since you are technically doing the same thing from a different place. Woo! Hello! Using I Know My Ship. You gain a bonus d20. Nice. That's 4 successes in total. And an extra 1 gives you well and above what you needed. Right. Nova and Edwards communicating together. What just happened was very, very odd, because the starboard nacelle shut down, whilst you were still in transit. And hello, John.
Hello.
It was so bad a stop, it woke up our science officer.
Yes. So to bring our chief science officer up to speed, or not, as the case may be, yes, the Navis has been given the task of escorting a disease outbreak response team to a small colony well on the border of the Klingon Empire. The colony is under the effects of a disease outbreak that is currently unknown in the Federation medical database, and therefore a specialist team has come on board the Navis and is being escorted to the stricken planet. However, whilst in transit, something appears to have happened to the Navis's engines, and it was forced to drop out of warp. Shields are down to 60%, comms and weapons are off, as are all the propulsion systems. Thankfully, life support and other such things are on, as to Nova and Edwards trying to diagnose what happened. It's an odd one, because anyone else notice I call Edwards a changeling and the ship crashes out of warp? Well, coincidence?
I think yes.
Anyone else
Let's
notice
find
that
out.
they asked Edwards to do a analysis of the warp field and we fall out of warp?
While you were watching me.
It's all coming together.
The changeling hand could be underneath the table. You know, he's got 2 hands on top of the table and one leg is turned into a foot, into a hand. So you know.
Changeling. No, we were. Yeah. Okay. So, power-wise, yes, it's a weird one. Going into the records, the power, like I noted before, spiked a little bit going into the starboard nacelle, but then normalized. And stayed normal. In fact, it stayed so normal it didn't even fluctuate once in the entire time since that initial wobble. Which is too weird. Because nothing stays that perfectly level for as long as it did. And then the port nacelle
Does it
started
look like
drawing
it's
extra
been
power.
tampered with electronically, like somebody's altered the sensor readings, or does it look like it's still functioning as a sensor?
As a preliminary look, the sensors still appear to be functioning. So if it has been tampered with, it's probably going to require either a look into the sensor, the primary sensor operating system, and or the sensors in the damaged area or areas, and or a manual inspection of the damaged area or areas.
I remember, is there such a thing as
We do like
security
manual
cameras?
inspection.
What was that, Alex?
I remember, is there such a thing as security cameras?
Yes,
No,
technically,
well,
internal
It would just be
sensors.
internal.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it would be just we go through the sensor logs of basically the same of the area of where this happened, just see if
Okay.
there's anyone about.
It's one of those kind
This-
of grey areas where we've seen that there's the ability to replay effectively recordings of an area, but there's no. But at the same time, there's no kind of camera to it. It's all kind of internal sensors that can effectively reproduce the same result.
Now, I am going to ask for a control and con check from our Chief Helmsman, Commander Fazanan, please. This will be a difficulty 0. But
don't scratch the paintwork.
On what
Um,
mission? We ain't even here.
I'll use my Palm Operations focus, so
Yeah.
I assume I can use it.
astronavigation would also apply. In fact, astronavigation probably does apply. 1 success, okay.
Oh.
Now, Keval has realized that the Navis is still in motion, because basically power was shut off and the propulsion systems went offline pretty much as soon as the ship basically flopped out of warp. It wasn't an elegant stop. And therefore the ship's forward momentum is continuing in the direction of the border with the Klingon Empire. You reckon you have exactly 2 hours before the ship drifts into the Klingon Empire's border. It drifts over the border.
If that's the case, let's open the Mossad collectors and force to dump the hydrogen out the front, because that will at least slow us down some amount.
It
Can I
will
go
be
and manually check on the port?
Yeah, I
What's it?
would say because it's gone, I would say that a security team is requested to go as well, because if the sensors are still reading as a continuum, that suggests sabotage.
Sweet. Hello, take over.
Edwards
Nova's
was...
off to the port nacelle.
I
And
mean,
Vipers is off to the starboard one.
I mean, the forward ejectors are in more or less the same place as some of the sensors that we're having errors with. So, if
So,
that's what you want.
just to confirm then, Nova is taking someone from security to go to the starboard nacelle?
Port, I think.
The
The one
port
that was
nacelle.
affected first.
Okay, so
Is
you're
it
going port.
Starboard
Vipers is
was the
going
first one to
starboard.
affect.
Alright,
Port
I'll
was
go
the
starboard
second.
then. Yeah, I'll go into
Yeah,
the one with the dodgy sensor.
So where's Vipers going?
Right. If Nova's communicating that she's doing this, I will go to the other one So I'll go port and they'll go
So
starboard.
your port, that means your left, that means Nova's going starboard. Is security going with Vipers to the port one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring the Teak in.
Yeah, might as well. The Teak's board.
What was
As
much as-
Edwards
as much as
doing?
As much as Nova said for Mr. Hello to take over, is that it was requested that he could stay in the position, but whatever his name, Moneo is actually on the console.
Mono walks in onto the bridge to find Hello in his seat. Excuse me? What was Edwards doing? Sorry, because you did speak up earlier.
Trawling through loads of the
Sabotaging the
sensor
ship.
logs to see if I could see if anyone was in the area that shouldn't have been. And
Who did we
somebody
just
dropped
lose? Shaun, okay. So, Edwards was checking the logs. What was Natala doing?
Probably going over our current what current sensor input we've got, which is basically a lot of nothing, but going over it for discrepancies.
Cool. So, Edwards is going through history.
You'll be focusing on the times when the blip happened and just prior to when everything went wrong.
Cool. Natala
See if I
is
can notice
looking
any-
basically out the window.
good, because that's kind of what we needed
So-
to want to do.
How else do we slow down a ship while every action has an equal and opposite reaction? Fire quantum torpedoes.
Well, there's a
We do have.
Oh, we can open the front cargo bay as well, the front docking bay as well.
I mean, how much momentum do we need to lose?
Welcome back, Shaun.
If we're still at warp,
You're not still at warp, but you came rudely out of. So, you've got quite a bit of momentum going.
Yeah, we're travelling at more or less maximum impulse then.
Without impulse, yeah.
Yeah.
so we are travelling at.
Our best bet
0.9
is
for impulse.
our best bet is to find massive objects
Mhm.
and use those.
But we've got no manoeuvrability. We've got no thrusters. The entire system is out.
Well, that's why we should conserve any mass inputs we can create with things like the cargo bay for manoeuvrers. Basically,
all that's going to
if
do
we need
is
to,
all it will do is it will slow us down in one direction.
yeah, but I prefer our ability to slow down in a particular direction rather than just forwards.
And in theory, we can keep doing it because all we have to do is repressurize the cargo bay and then vent, and then repressurize the cargo bay and vent, and we will slow down.
It's an
Why
idea.
not just launch the shuttles and use those as a tug?
Because we
Ooh.
are travelling at high impulse.
Yeah,
So-
we'll just
In
straight
theory,
in.
the shuttles could launch. It's not going to be.
Yeah.
easy.
They're travelling at the same speed, so you've
Yeah,
got
And if they're attached to the ship
In fact-
with tractor beam,
Yeah, in fact, we have got the Carpathia.
Yep, you've got a runabout, so that's a lot.
Carpathia would be able to offer more than the shuttles for slowing down.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like an idea.
And we have also got the Samson.
Yes, you do.
Alternatively, if the Carpathia can see more out there than we can, the Carpathia could potentially find us something to snag onto, basically.
So, it sounds like...
I don't like the Navis being as defenseless as it is this close to the Klingon border. So
Instead of just slowing down, can we just alter our course enough to avoid Klingon space?
That was what I was
Using-
going to be suggesting. Basically, if we can do anything to maneuver, we should be using it to turn rather than to stop. Which I think the one about is probably the best plan for.
well, does the Samson have transporters, tractor beams?
It should do, but they're not very powerful because it's mostly an attack fighter. So its own tractor beam is not as powerful as the Carpathia's.
you don't have to use the tractor beams on the Samsung or the Carpathia, you could use the one on the Navis and use it backwards.
Yeah, could use that as well.
It would be using. Well, actually, no, not strictly true. I was going to say it won't be using warp power, but the problem's not
So long as it's
necessarily with the warp core, so it's.
Yeah.
Hang
So long as our power levels aren't also compromised
Yeah, if
separately
you put
from
the
the
tractor
warp
beam to
core.
repulse, you can push off of the other ships. So yeah, which do you want, Keval? Do you want to fly around in the Samson, or do you want to fly around? Do you want to stay at the Navis Helm?
Ooh, chance to fly the Samson? I'll take it.
Okie dokes.
And we're more or less flying the Navis using tractor beams to push and pull off of the two ships out there.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Natala volunteers.
If Keval's taking the Samson, then Andrews would take over Con.
Okay.
Edwards could do it.
Edward's caused us.
Edwards caused this.
Yes. That would make
And-
Vibers technically complicit.
We agree with that too.
If you can't see your changeling foot under the console, deactivating the warp field, he is not complicit.
All right then. Let's.
Fine.
All right then.
Would it be better to have an engineer working on engineering things rather than an engineer flying the ship?
I'm also quite a good pilot, you know that.
Well, at the
As
moment,
well, so, nah.
Edwards is trawling
And
through
you've flown the ship. You've flown
sensors.
one ship.
Very a couple times.
No,
Oh,
no,
please
you
let me
so
fly
I'm
the
trawling
ship.
through stuff, yeah. It'll take me time, yeah.
So,
If
folks
I
have
say
got
you
their
can be two places at
individual
once.
actions. Cool. Right then. Let's see what we got. Let's change the ambience a little bit. So, who's first? Let me see. Well, it makes sense that the engineering folks looking at various nacelles are going to be involved here, so...
Oh god, guys, we've split the party massively again. Everyone bar Dr. Bertram is doing so. Bertram, what do you want to do?
I'm still. To be honest, I'm probably getting medical teams on standby in case this is prelude to some sort of disaster. Unless I'm requested to do anything else specifically.
Subdue the changeling.
The changeling's with one of you guys, not with me.
He's here.
It's your sole mission to go hunting the changeling.
We found him.
I still think it's gonna be the Andrews. Who else is like the least likely is gonna be the most likely.
It's hello.
You'd never suspect the cute little robot, would you?
Yeah.
That we
Hello,
built
it is he you're looking
from
for.
scratch.
Alright, so, the engineering folks. Now, obviously, I've got both Vibers and Nova in the same map, but the nacelle injectors are essentially the same on both sides, so they'd be seeing a similar thing. And it won't be just your individual character and your security escort. There will more than likely be other engineers present too, mostly just as window dressing at this point, but they are present. So, you're looking into the actual one. So, Nova was looking at the one that didn't go wrong, and Vibers is looking at the one that did overload. Let's do Vibers first. Can I get you to give me a reason and engineering, and I'm going to make this difficulty 2?
Okay.
Wasn't it Nova that was going to the...
Nova wanted to go to the
Nova-
one that was behaving apparently normally, but the records are a bit too spotless for.
Alright, yeah.
Whereas Vipers wanted to see the one that was actually showing strain.
Registered as broke.
Registry.exe. Reg.exe has been corrupted. Yeah.
I like the idea that this scene is played out very similar to this. So, apart from that they don't show up in the background of each other's shots, they are basically sharing a scene.
Just one side of the cardboard cutout each.
That's what we call budget, darling. Right, okay. There was a complication. And you are investigating.
I'm not going to mitigate it.
Okay.
What's the worst that could happen inside of the From Keval's position out of the Samson is that the Navis Natala explodes.
Or at the very least starts doing donuts due to one of its nacelles activating randomly. Right, so the port nacelle has shown a good degree of strain on a lot of its systems. Nothing too catastrophic happened, but it's the field coils in the nacelle are still cooling from the sheer amount of power and therefore heat that happened as it was evident. It was like it was drawing on extra power in order to compensate for a loss elsewhere, and that was causing it to strain greatly. The plasma injectors, therefore, the injector assembly is intact, but will probably need a bit of TLC because it drew more power than was average for it, and as a result, the systems have shown, that the materials themselves have shown a good bit of strain as they were compensating for a perceived imbalance. Which is weird, because now that we go over to Nova, we find the starboard nacelles injector assembly. And there's definitely something wrong here. You come into the nacelles injector assembly and you basically find it blackened and charred, as if there was a plasma fire, a short-lived plasma fire in here. There's also evidence of a couple of sparking EPS conduits. Which is odd, considering that the sensors were telling you that there's nothing wrong in here.
Does it look like it's come in from some... like we crashed into something and it's come through?
So, impact damage. No, there's no obvious denting or a hole or anything like that in the exterior plating that would suggest something from inside smashed through, something from outside smashed into the inside, through inside.
If there's a plasma fire, that would does it look like the conduit blew, or does it look like the conduit just spontaneously set on fire? Because there'd be scorching.
There would be,
depending on the sort of like the scorch patterns.
So let's have a Let's have an insight and engineering check from Nova here, and inner workings focus would do well here. But I am gonna spend a threat to up the complication range. Aha, whenever you attempt to determine the source of attending, I know my ship once again. Cool. Yep. More dice to roll 19 or 20 on.
That's the plan. That's a good plan.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you did. 3 nails, in fact. Okay. All right. It looks as if something came loose, which then obviously caused a malfunction. The malfunction fed back and caused the power to overload, which then caused a nearby plasma injector to rupture. But Nova eventually traces the problem back and finds that one of the regulators, the plasma regulators, the flow regulator, has been surreptitiously, not exactly disconnected, but it seems somebody loosened the connection just enough that there wasn't a point of contact between the injector's sensor, basically, and the injector itself. So what tells the injector that it's operating normally was just loose enough to not make contact. And
So it seems to be deliberate sabotage from somebody that knows how these things work.
Definitely appears to have been deliberate tampering, yes.
Cool.
Is never going to say that.
Yeah. That she went up here to find out what it was. So.
Then I think we go into a red alert and security lockdown.
Okay. Red alert sounds. You're going to say something, Davis?
Yeah, at the same time as we've just gone to red alert, Vibers puts a message through, sends a message through to Andrews' console on the lines of, might need the work be, this nacelle might need some replacements before we can use it again.
This one was set on fire.
Well,
Now then. Yes, so replacing the injector assembly is easy enough, but a test needs to be done to make sure that once you've got the replacement in, it's working properly. And this, of course, will eat up some time. That's also notwithstanding the fact that the warp core will have to be restarted. And you do at least have the advantage that you've done this a good few times before, so this will be, a task done by rote. However, time is not exactly on your side. And there is the option of potentially foregoing some of the safety checks if you maybe want to speed things up. But that does carry
There is no safety.
No safety. Not with Nova aboard, no. Now, I am going to switch us back before we resolve that. Too much?
Got a question for Keval.
Alright. Before we switch scenes. Yep, sure.
Keval, how far are we from the planet we're heading to? Is it in range of the Carpathia?
Well, you're now 1 hour and 40 minutes away at Impulse. From the Federation, from the Klingon border.
The Carpathia will have warp capability.
Yep. Okay. So was there a recommendation there, or was that just a question?
Oddly enough, that outburst from the background noise is well timed. We have a planet of people asking for medics.
You do?
Do we load the scientists into the runabout and we try to ship?
No. Because we have a possible saboteur on board.
Alright, I'm going to shunt our scene briefly to the efforts of those who are checking the sensor logs. Again, I'm going to spend a point of threat to up the complication range. If I can get, I think it was Ensign Edwards who was checking the sensor logs. So, I'll allow communications to focus there. This is going to be control and
Could we
control
get
engineering.
Bravo to assist if it's now been raised as a security alert?
Sure. I mean, Bravo at this moment is accompanying Nova, but he can certainly offer his 2 cents, as it were, over comms. So
A security officer. Perhaps Claude.
What?
Yeah.
that's a problem, actually, because communications are down. But you guys have already
Claude's the
spoken
only,
to each other, so
I thought it was external comms.
yeah, external
We're-
comms,
we're-
we'll say.
We could use the Bravo network of engineering Bravo to telepathically link to the others.
It's fine. External communications only. Internal is still fine. Ooh, an 18. So you were close, but you didn't roll a complication. Okay. Let's see.
Incoming message.
Alright then, so sensor records, essentially the security feed playback, of the starboard nacelles injector assembly show nothing out of the ordinary at the moment.
So for
And-
both times, prior, before it happened, and when the blip happened.
Yeah, which is weird because you're not even reading the power blip.
Is there any way the sensors could have been rerouted to show like a loop feed kind of thing?
Interesting. To do that, you would have to investigate the actual computer program itself that the sensors are using to sense.
I'd like to go into that place.
Okie dokies. So, is there anybody around that could potentially help you with that? Natala is helping Keval with their mission to try and maneuver the Navis. Nova and Vibers are elsewhere.
Cursed.
Because someone from engineering probably would be not engineering, security would be useful because there'd no potential workarounds of the security.
Ensign Cursed is currently on sensors, is both a sensors and computers expert.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Cool then. So let's put you guys. Actually, no. Let me keep Edwards there. Let me bring Cursed over.
Edwards is down engineering, isn't it? So we'd send Curse to engineering.
Yeah, so I'll stick her near the engineering station on the bridge to represent that for the time being. Who hasn't rolled much yet? Gareth, you haven't had much rolling, have you? Compared to other folks. So let's have you be Cursed. Cursed is going to be assisting with a control and... This is looking through logs. This is going to be control and security, not her best. But with a focus on sensors and computers, so either of those will apply. Edwards,
Did you say?
a similar thing, but
I would like to propose a value. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it, because I did this against the Orions to create that kind of loop
yes,
to
you
put
did,
off what they're
didn't
doing.
you?
So I'm basically trying to work against what I would do in that place. So, trying to,
Yeah.
like, how did I do this? Now, how would I get around me doing this? So, trying to use what I learned before to try and
Yeah.
second guess if I was doing this, how would I get around it, kind of thing.
Interesting. I like that. None of your foci really apply, so just go on your raw talent. So we'll see what you get. This is going to be difficulty. This is going to be difficulty 3 because somebody's gone to the effort of doing something here.
Does that mean you accepted the use of the determination, the value? Sorry.
This is you. Yeah, I've accepted the use of you using the value. I am using that one threat to up the difficulty to 3. I'm also using another point of threat to up the complication range. John, you said something there. I talked over you.
So the determination will basically give 2 of the successes needed. You'll need to roll at least 1 success.
Yeah. And with Cursed on your side, who's already rolled 1 success, anything else you do is great. Hey, V! Right. When you investigate the sensor logs, or indeed the computer reporting the sensor logs, you trawl through computer code, and it's a little bit tedious, but it's a case of, yes, you're kind of reversing what you've done before, and you do come across a non-standard computer program that's sitting there in the sensor's main computer software.
Am I able to identify point of origin for when this was installed?
It doesn't carry a timestamp. Sadly, it's been clever enough to... Pardon me. It's been clever enough to insinuate itself into the system by essentially masking itself as another root system application. But it being where it is was what led you to it, because it would be where you would put a similar kind of program to interfere with sensors. So that's how you found it. One of the file sizes was abnormally large.
Now, please feel free to tell me this is not how this would work, or this is going to be too advanced. But I'm presuming there would be some sort of automated backup every now and again as a security procedure, so you could roll back worst case scenario.
Indeed.
And that'd be, I'd like to say, updated fairly regularly. So I'd like to, as in considering how security heavy certain members of this thing, I'd imagine several times a day. So would it be possible to look back at the latest rollback and see if I can work out at least a rough idea of a time period of when this could have appeared?
I like that. That's very good. And I will get back to you on that after we go to our pilots, who are now suited up and have gotten into their respective vessels. So we're using both the Samson and the Carpathia?
Yes. Well, the Carpathia is currently being piloted by another. Who's our other pilot?
Pilot.
Thought it was going to be you, yeah.
No, I've got the Navis.
Oh, right.
I thought Natala
I thought Natala was piloting one and Keval was piloting the other.
Natala wanted to help with the Navis side of it.
She wanted to play with the transporters, but the
With the
tractor beams.
Okie dokie, which is why you were at the tactical console, right? I see. So I will just move Keval to be slightly off to the side because I misunderstood. That's fine. So Natala wants to... Right, so Natala wants to...
Alright, we'll put Lenny on it.
Yeah, Lenny.
Not Lenny.
Lenny in the Carpathia. Keval in the Samson.
Actually, I will
Andrews
put
on the Navis.
Because Natala doesn't know much about piloting, but she is an expert in EVA. So if you hear me out, to her, like, controlling the tractor beams might be more like sort of reaching for a handhold, drawing herself in, moving the center of gravity, pushing off, magnetizing her boots, landing, demagnetizing, lunging for the next handhold, that kind of style of things. So if you're using her EVA experience
to effect a similar maneuver, but not necessarily using the same systems. Okay. So I'm just going to move us to a little rendition of the internals of the Carpathia, just to represent the fact that both Keval and Lenny are in their respective pilot seats on their respective vessels, and for the ease of allowing John to roll for Natala's efforts, I put Natala in here too. So, right. Do. So this is it. Both vessels exit the shuttle bay, and the opening of the shuttle bay itself is caused to alter some of the momentum. What are you doing, Shaun?
It's an asteroid scratching it.
God damn it, Keval!
Screech!
He doesn't even open the shutaway doors, he just flies through them.
So,
Hey,
Natala
Keval.
was going to... What now? She was going to control the tractor beams, or...
Mhm.
Okay. Tradition, says... All right.
Starfleet crews smash bottles against their ships. Keval just squeezes them down the side of the ship.
Someday I'll sign
Save
my
time
initial
just-
using scratching.
Just save time, just key them.
See,
I don't need keys, I've made one just for the occasion.
Edwards
There's no
is...
skill in that.
Edwards is lamenting the fact that he gets kept being made fun of for being a shapeshifter, and at the same vein, Keval, even though he's an awesome pilot, has never lived down the fact that he's scratched, made two
No,
crash
he's
landings in his
scratched
time?
This kind of
It's not-
behavior is.
It's a small ship, people get bored.
Yeah. He hasn't touched the Californian the time.
Well, you never
explaining,
will
but the
now.
Carpathia, every time the Carpathia goes out, Keval leaves a dent in the damn.
Thing is, this kind of piloting behavior is such a tradition in Starfleet. The inside of the Earth,
Starbase
what do they call it? Starbase One. The doors to it must have enormous scars down each side where
Yeah.
people are trying to leave without waiting for the doors to fully open.
Yeah, just doing a Kirk and leaving at full impulse.
Yeah.
1 quarter.
Rather than manoeuvring thrusters, just go to full impulse straight out the door.
Right. Why are there only 4 ships parked inside? Well, since Kirk.
There is a 4-ship limit. You know what
We know how much the ship's thrusters can counterbalance the thrust. We can't cope with more than 4 in a day.
What you non-pilots don't know is that it's a standing goal of a pilot to be able to sign his name on the side of a ship using a scratch.
Sulu did it once, now everyone else has got to do it since.
Yeah.
That scratch down the side of the Navis says Keval was here.
So, what you Philistines don't realise is what you think is a scratch is actually Andorian. So that's basically you guys being racist. And I'm going to stop that right there before it goes further.
Scratches, because he's got to get it in every single official language of the Federation.
Well, let's get this done, shall we? Before the night gets too far. Natala now needs to give us a control and security check to lasso, basically, the 2 ships. I will allow Starfleet safety protocols to be a focus here, because you are trying to do this without basically ripping the 2 smaller ships into little itty bits. This is going to be a difficulty 1, but I am going to use the threat to up the threat range, the complication range, because if you get this wrong, well, there you go. 3 successes, you do it without any trouble whatsoever. So the tractor beams lance out and snag onto both the Samson and the Carpathia. So now it comes down to their respective pilots to start trying to nudge the Navis out of the way. So we'll do this with Ensign Lenny assisting, because that's essentially what Ensign Lenny is doing, is using the Carpathia and their own piloting skills to assist the Chief Helm's officer's attempts to try and just hug the Navis in the right direction.
Can
So-
I assist from the Navis con as well?
Trouble is, the Navis doesn't
Basically,
have active
Wouldn't it be
propulsion
equivalent of
systems.
like making the Navis go limp, more or less?
Yeah. I like that, actually. So, that would be Andrew's... Go on, we'll make this... It's going to be a combined effort here, so it's going to be... I'm going to say Keval as the primary, but we're going to have Lenny as assistance and Andrew's assistance. And Gareth, you can jump in as the Navis, assisting with... No, it's not going to be engines. It's going to be structure.
I think the Navis isn't really helping on this, but if Gareth wants to roll as Lenny...
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
The Navis is an absolute dead weight at the moment.
Okay.
Good point.
In that case, I'm gonna grab a point of momentum.
Yep, that's fine.
Do you want me to roll as Lenny?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Control and con. Small craft operation will be very useful as a focus. I am going to spend a threat to up the complication range again. Ooh! Yeah, that was close.
Starfleet protocols as a foci?
As much as they can apply in a situation like this, yes, okay. This isn't exactly going by the book, but you're doing as much as the book can suggest. Okay. 1 success so far. I need 2 more from the head honcho himself. Okay.
Mum, I'm definitely involved in this one, and there's at least 3 of us. Cancel the first complication.
Okay. Okay. Good, because if that wasn't, then oh boy.
Yeah.
All right then.
Andrews is like, he's getting very close. He's getting very close. He's getting very close.
I just need to cross the T.
So yes, both smaller vessels engage their engines and start to try and, in a coordinated fashion, veer and pull the Navis in a direction. As you say, the Navis is dead weight. Andrews tries to assist by, opening and closing a few cargo bay doors to try and put a bit of extra momentum in there. Natala, for a moment, has the tractor beam's warning that in order to keep hold onto the 2 smaller craft, which are now bearing pretty much all the weight of the Navis, it's almost like the tractor beams are like hands reaching out and grabbing hold, and one of them starts to feel one of the ships slipping away, and so digs its nails in a little bit more, and is starting to peel is threatening to peel some of the hull away if it holds on too tight. But thanks to Natala's talents and abilities, Natala rebalances the tractor beam just in time before you start pulling panels, the Navis starts pulling panels out of the Carpathia. So there's a moment where Ensign Lenny hears the hull of the Carpathia start to groan and whine a little bit as extra pressure is put on, but that quickly goes away and everyone wipes a little bit of sweat from their brow, as the Navis is now starting to make a slow but determined turn. So far...
Oh no, we're listing lazily to the left.
Yeah.
Kind of what we wanted.
Yes.
Step to the right.
So you are listing lazily to the left. If I jump us back to the bridge for a moment, who's around? It's at that point that Lieutenant Claude makes notice that... Hang on, where's Claude? Claude has a voice. Let's use Claude's voice.
Captain, Claude has detected what appear to be Klingon ships on the other side of the border. They're on their side, and they appear to be mirroring our movements. They're directly parallel to us. Count so far 3 ships.
Noted, Lieutenant, says the captain. All right. With that knowledge, let's go back to our engineers, or the ones looking into the problem on a manual basis, Nova and Vibers. Did you guys already have something in mind, or were you guys just looking to, or at least Viber's looking to start repairs and stuff?
Right. Gonna prepare a simulation for can we get to where we need to go on one nacelle?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with
It's
yes.
not
you
gonna
could.
be pretty.
No,
we
it's
could
not.
limp it, but
Yeah. It's possible,
Because this
but
one that looks like it's set on fire, I don't want to trust it. None of its telemetry's working right. We can't trust it.
okay.
You dropped
Well,
out at the end of your sentence, I'm afraid, Shaun. What was the entire sentence?
Can we just bypass things?
Just bypass things, right? Yes, of course. Safety
Like
is
safety.
Safety
Exactly. Any
is for
safety system
dudes.
is now redundant. We just forcefully bypass everything.
So yeah, you can technically still generate a warp field using one nacelle. It's just the whole ship design is that you have two nacelles to balance this extraordinarily big thing. So having just one nacelle do it means you're probably going to need to lower the profile. Well, you know, you're going to need to lower the warp speed basically to accommodate.
Yeah, we'd be too slow for 3 Klingon ships chasing us that track us the entire way, and then we're leading them directly to.
We'll be fecked for combat, but that's not what I'm thinking.
Not really, because we've still got power.
But weapons are so far inoperative.
We don't want to be leading them to a science team that's already struggling with disease and that sort of.
We just infect the Klingons and everything.
Yeah, send the Klingons down.
Yes. That's it. Yes, you capture all of our colonists. Oh no, they died.
All it took was a colony of
sending rats to Europe.
Well,
Am I being completely daft that for combat maneuvers on one nacelle, your best option would be to just lean in the angular momentum and basically just be spinning
barrel roll away?
Yeah, exactly.
Combat maneuvers.
Me right round, baby.
Right. Actually,
God damn it.
No,
Poppy.
you've just brought up a really good point. Warp power isn't our main thing at the moment. Our main thing is why the hell haven't we got enough power for impulse? If we can get the impulse drives on working, all this maneuverability for combat is fine. You can handle that while we fix the warp drive.
Yeah.
We just need to get the impulse engines online to slam us into a dead stop.
Okay.
So
bypassing.
Nova, let's ignore the warp drives. What do you think about going off to impulse control and see if we can get that shit working?
Yeah, why not?
Let's get that
Always
stuff
you that's
working.
the first swear word of the night.
It's always David. It's fine.
Damn it.
We don't know. See, there he goes again. Right, so keeping some security presence in engineering just to make sure everybody stays safe. Nova and Vibels, and just for completeness, I will quickly go back to the bridge and grab Curse, because she's supposed to be here too, helping Edwards. So you guys are just looking into getting enough of, getting basically the warp core started again. You're probably going to have to isolate the nacelles first.
Is this after I was doing what I was doing? Because you said you were going to come back to me on
This
that.
is kind of during.
Okay.
This is kind of during doing what you're about to do. This is all going on at the same kind of time. Was there anything particularly you wanted to bring up as a result then, Alex?
It depends on the result of the follow-up. It's just, I didn't know if this would be... Well, I wouldn't be able to do both effectively, as he's trawling through...
Well, no, it's
more questioning why Edwards was there, sort of. If he was already in that.
Yeah, Edwards is going through the computer, the actual physical computer records. Yeah. So he's, that can still be done in engineering.
You're working on the computer records, and they walk in from having done from the nacelles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
whilst you're still doing that.
So, Nova and Vibers are going to more than likely have to work at basically turning off the warp nacelles so that when they get power back on, power doesn't accidentally get shunted to somewhere you don't want it to be at the moment. So,
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is we spin up the secondary core only. That should... Because we're not running the warp drive at the moment, we just want warp power. So if we spin up the secondary core on its own, we can keep that isolated from the engines, figure the engines out next.
alright then.
That makes sense, Nova?
Yeah. We should probably check them for manual sabotage, because the guy who did the one upstairs was very clever with what he did. Shoot a glance over at the changeling.
Who's busy doing what Edwards is doing and therefore doesn't notice the accusatory stare.
worst changeling stuff.
Yep.
So, once again, due to the delicate nature of what's going on and other threats going into increasing the threat range, the complication range, but Nova Vibers can give me control and engineering checks, or considering what you're doing, daring and engineering checks in order to bring warp power online without bringing any of the other systems.
I'm going to burn 2 momentum. Can I? Yeah, I'll do the 2 momentum thing with a manual. Can do a reroll then.
Okie dokie.
Yes, so it gives us an advantage.
Yes, indeed.
Right. Okay. Are you leading on this one, Shaun, or am I?
It sounds like you are if you're making a manual check.
Alright.
Okay then. Sounds good to me. Do it. Difficulty 1. Since you've done this many times before. 4 successes. Anything extra from
It's a
Nova
well-used
is gravy.
manual.
Yeah.
Is it? I think maybe.
Yeah, it'll do. Inner workings will do fine. Yep, lots of successes there, so you definitely get back all the momentum you spent, if any, so... Yeah, you've successfully managed to put the warp core back into a working condition, have isolated it enough so that it doesn't automatically kickstart a couple of systems that you're still not very, very sure about. And with that many successes, you do it extraordinarily well. So that's that for the ship for the time being.
Can I send a message up to Hello to actively monitor any power spikes and isolate that area immediately?
Okay, no problem. Noted. Right then, so we're going to get back to Edwards and Hurst. What was the plan here, Alex? You were looking through records, that was it. Comparing...
It was looking for the regular security backup, so basically the rollback position for files. So it was presuming that there'll be some sort of backup of if things go wrong, they could roll back to a previous version of the system. And making the logical guess that based off how security conscious certain members of the higher command are, it would be a number of times a day. So they'd have these kind of checks, backups, and that kind of thing. So trying to work out when the last backups were, a rough time period for when this file was installed. Also, potentially, if there's any kind, I've actually had a thought to add on to that. Was they'd have to make sure this isn't identified as obviously a rogue file that would be then wiped during a potential rollback or anything. It would have to be identified in some sort of file registry of something that needs to be kept. So someone would potentially either have highlighted it or added it. In theory, is my thinking. Those who are more computer savvy, please correct me if I'm wrong.
You're making sense according to what I know.
That makes a lot of sense. You're saying, I want to know, have they infected the backups? And this thing, when was it changed? Who by? And when was our last safe hard copy?
Because, well, worst case scenario, we can roll back and remove the file, but also, in order for them to potentially keep this file perpetually, they would have had to have made some sort of changes for it to basically be classed as safe to be saved. So there might hopefully be some sort of identifying markers, I don't know, timestamp signature, whatever, or login signature of someone adding it to said file registry saying this is all right to be kept with the backups.
Okay. Can I get you to make a control and security check? Ensign Cursed can assist. So Gareth, if you would be so kind. And I'm once again going to up the complication range, and it's going to be difficulty 2. So you've already got 1 success, so whatever Cursed gives you is gravy. Let's hope Cursed gives you success. 2 successes even, so yay. I think the only one who can reasonably answer this is Nova. Is there any evidence of tampering being physical, or could the sabotage have been entirely within the ship's computer? Interesting question. However...
Definitely physical.
We'll also get to... Right, you do find a previous backup, and the backup of the system, or the snapshot of the system, as it were, was made not long before you docked at Starbase 12 to pick up your passengers. This is done as a matter of course, because whenever you dock is when it's usually time to give the systems their diagnostic, and so you want to save everything beforehand. You want to save a snapshot of the system. So yes, there was definitely no intrusion in the system before you docked at Starbase 12, and afterwards there is a program. Interestingly enough, with 3 successes, the method of the code Edwards has seen before. It has a very distinctive Orion signature to it. Definitely physical. They loosen components to give false readings and fail, hence the fire. This is why we check for physical sabotage down before restarting the core. I now have Hello monitoring in case of other systems that have been targeted. So the program that's interfering with sensors has markers that you've seen before when you caught Orion's monkeying with a security system on an Orion station. This bears similar hallmarks.
Damn Orions have been following us for ages in their weird Starfleet shaped ship.
Part of me was just thinking, an intrusive joke in was like, how do we know this isn't Vibers? You know, his Orion connections and his smuggling side gig.
Right, so...
Oh wait, no, basically, Edward was alert into that and would basically send this to the bridge crew and security staff.
Okay. Everybody gets the information that has just been discovered. So basically, it becomes what you guys want to do now. Permission of either,
do you want me to isolate? Do you want us to isolate this piece of program and remove it, or don't isolate and remove, just isolate it and keep it on, or do you want to do a full roll back to previous safe mode, effectively?
I'd keep a copy of it, but we should probably roll it back to somewhere safe.
This will mean taking...
to make the decision.
Yeah, that suggestion will mean taking the primary sensors, and all the sensors, offline, so that the main computer, the system that regulates and controls the sensors, will have to be, turned off, and its backup installed, overwriting, if not, wiping the current one, then installing the backup over it, and then starting things up again, which will take time.
Could we have another computer operate sensors in the meantime?
We could be feeding sensor data off of the Samson and the Carpathia.
Yeah, just so we're not completely blind, is all I'm thinking.
Yeah, so they'd be running, giving the output.
Communications could set up a kind of a sensor tether, I suppose, to the two smaller vessels. The two smaller vessels, by the way, they can, if not exactly if they look out of their viewports, but on their sensors, both smaller vessels can read the other Klingon ships, just kind of mirroring the Navis's position, but from their side of the border. Your progress in turning is painfully slow at the moment. It is going, but now there's another Klingon ship has joined this little flotilla going on the other side. So, you now have a guess that somebody has physically sabotaged it, and there is an invasive program on board the in the computer sensor. The sensors for the computer that regulates the sensors. Jeez, Willikers. Blah. What would you like to do? You've got guys who have just started the warp core up.
Andrews, I did briefly thought I heard to say do the rollback.
Yes.
Okay, so the rollback is somebody's going to have to do the rollback then. So I'm assuming that Edwards, since he's there, is going to do it.
Yeah, with any help that is offered.
Kirst again is a good one
that
because she's got computers.
Is because weapons have gone offline, is check weapon systems and shields as well. So don't just roll back those systems. We may have to roll back we may have to do an entire rollback.
Ooh, that's going to
probably
take
going to be
even
the
longer.
same amount of time to roll back everything. Just start up.
Potentially need to, with someone else who start on a separate diagnostics. Edwards will show them how he found it.
Diagnostics take too much time. Just roll back the entire damn thing.
Okay.
So this means
Hey,
that
so
Edwards and Kirst are off to the primary computer core.
And with what you're seeing here, the sort of thing you probably find for Edwards from the basic training you've had so far is you know how to take a snapshot so you can go in and get the full forensics later to try and track this down. While you're still doing the full restore from last safe backup or hard copy.
And just to reiterate, keeping a what's I going to say? Making a copy of the evasive program as well for those who are more computer minded to be able to analyse.
All right.
Obviously, with this tagged on note of this looks Orion.
Just having a think as well. If somebody wanted us dead in the water and drifting into Klingon space, what would be the next thing to sabotage? Because I noticed that the shields dropped to 60%, so perhaps we should check those out.
One reason for dropping the shields outside of the obvious would be something to do with transporters, for example, their escape plan.
Shields are up and are about 60%. But shield power was lost in the same way that...
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Have they sabotaged them to drop completely over time?
Well, Nova can go and check these systems then if she wishes.
Unless I'm needed elsewhere, I think so.
Okay, so
Type of paranoia.
just to settle it in my brain, Edwards and Kirst are going to do a restore on the computer system. The whole thing, just to make sure there's nothing that could be lying in other systems. Vibers is doing what?
At the moment, Vibers is trying to get Impulse back online.
Okay, so
we've got power, so just trying to make sure we've got maneuverability and we're combat effective.
Okay, Nova is checking the shield systems. Anything else that Nova was checking?
Somebody said weapons, so if I can do both, then both.
General defensive systems, so okay. That should be fine. Checking those to see if they've got any kind of invasive program in there, was it? Or if someone's physically sabotaged some of the systems?
I think it'd be the physical systems at this point.
Okay.
That's what she's expecting.
Alright then. Is Andrews staying at Con for the moment?
Yeah, I think so for now. But taking a very active interest in everything that's going on for the Saboteur Rise.
Hmm.
Do we have the ability to isolate transporter control to only one of the transporter consoles? So basically, you have to go to the one functioning bay.
It's entirely possible to. Yeah.
Richard, scenario 7.
We've got plenty of booze on board, Commander. Oh, you mean the other scenario 7?
I forgot 14. I forgot the Makoko editions.
Right. How about isolated to just mine then?
That's the one.
All right then. That'll show those other transported bullets. I'm the favourite. Right. Is there anything special that Keval wants to try in the position he's in? Because the ship is... The two little ships are doing something with help. But it's a bit of a slow and ponderous maneuver. It looks like there might be a large asteroid that might have come off of a reasonable sized planetoid at some point is nearby. You could try some kind of funky slingshot maneuver with that, perhaps. Unless there's anything else you wanted to try.
I guess Keval is a little bit more worried about the Klingon vessels.
Okay.
And I guess Keval's just...
If you could get us close enough to a more massive object than the Carpathia, we could rather quickly turn to face them if needed.
Yeah, you don't want to put us into a descending orbit. We want to be in.
We just need to create the illusion that we're combat ready. Just on patrol.
Aha. Even though you've got two smaller ships tugging a larger one.
But one of them is a fighter.
Well,
it could be combat maneuvers and training.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. So if we can change our tugging pattern to look like formation
escort
maneuvering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close maneuvers practice.
Right, that's cool. I kind of like that. This is deliberate, honest. Alright, a bit of deceptive flying. I like it. What about Natala? The tractor beams are on now and are doing their job.
I need to basically maintain this formation that they're trying to guide us to.
Because, Claude can keep a handle on the tractor beams if Natala thinks she wants to do something else elsewhere, so...
True.
But it's entirely up to you. If you think Natala
we were
wants
talking
to...
about making modifications to the communications array, weren't we?
Were you?
Were you?
To try and make it so that the sensor data from the smaller ships was coming in via the communication system.
Yeah.
So you weren't blind. That's a good point.
Like a decent thing to work on, something so that Andrews can see what's going on out there if we do need to do some shooting.
It's a good point. The only external viewport is the one that's currently directly above the in the roof of the bridge at the moment. Okay.
So
all right.
Let's try and fix that.
So then, folks, except for poor Dr. Bertram. I mean, unfortunately...
We need to get Bertram something to do. I think Bertram, if Bertram wants to start beginning interrogations of anyone who joined on board, whether they have Orion connections, something to do.
What do you think, Gareth?
Investigative skills that I definitely don't have.
Well, you just talk to them about Moss and see which ones sort of get bored the quickest. You're like, haha, you're not a Federation officer.
Commander, I have the answer to the question you got. The answer is everybody on board the Navis other than Nova.
My pool of suspects is somewhat large.
Yes.
Okay, right, let's find everyone into the brig. No more questions. Everyone in the brig.
The person who most violently objected and therefore is most likely to be an Orion Syndicate member is a Commander Sophia Andrews.
That's fine. I have PTSD from being trapped in the mycelial realm. That's why I didn't attend.
It's now a prison ship. The Navis is now one big prison ship.
Nova's just wondering why she wasn't on the list.
What I can do if you want
FOMO.
to is actually alert the emergency response team that's on board to the situation and explain the delay.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we keep them informed.
Yeah.
Don't you go through medical records? Sorry, not medical records. Financial records of Starfleet personnel and see who owes somebody lots of money.
Well, for the most part, anyone who owns any money would be the first suspect in that case.
Yeah.
I can't help but saying we're going back to Vibers here.
I don't owe anyone any money.
Anymore.
I don't know what money is.
You've paid off your debts now.
How many bars of Latinum did you trade?
It's a long shot, but Nova, you didn't install the capitalism subroutine into Hello, did you?
Just playing. It's mining crypto.
And the whole system shut down because there was too much power needed.
Oh.
Well, you guys have now written a lot more plausible a plot than I have, so there we go. We'll go with that now.
NFT is the bane of the Federation since centuries before it was founded.
Are NFTs
I'll
and
go-
cryptocurrency the same thing?
They are now.
They are now.
Hundreds of years, we've lost the origins to them. But yeah, I'll advise the response team. Basically, there is an issue going on that is being currently investigated, and we're on high alert, and it is causing a delay.
Okay.
Yeah, and if the Doctor has any attitude, tell her the fact that we have no engines and are currently heading straight for the Klingon border. So, stuff it.
Offer her to get out and walk.
Yeah, offer her to get out and walk.
You're perfectly welcome to push if you're in a hurry.
Engineering. Yep, that's what I was glad.
Right. I'll try and put it somewhat less harshly than I've been advised.
I don't know why.
We say what we mean on this ship. We don't care if it hurts people's feelings.
You say that, but when then I start my
Yep.
lectures, that's not what people say then.
Could we take a break, sir? It appears my intelligence circuits have melted. If you can name that quote.
It's Red Dwarf, isn't it?
Aha! Not just any old cross-franchise quote, but a sci-fi one.
Yep.
Right. Okay then. So, first things first. Vibers was trying to reinitialize Impulse.
Yep.
So let's do this
We're on the
thing.
wrong type of ship for me to do Gellerfields.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, if
Right.
One day.
this would be an entirely different theme to this whole thing if we were doing Warhammer 40,000.
Also, we probably wouldn't be able to stream this without having them come down on us.
Well, not strictly true, because we'd probably be doing something like, not to plug
Probably
another...
using one of their licensed systems, yeah.
Yeah, Wrath and Glory would be the system I'd more than likely use were I running 40k.
Fine. We'll tell them they can get 20% of the profits from the viewing of the streams on YouTube. What? Penny?
That's really harsh.
For a
Yeah,
penny?
that's kind of. That's now saying that Matt doesn't get many people viewing his streams. Well done. Yeah, like,
Well, if it did get an awful lot of people, it's still...
subscribe to Matt on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
I don't even need to do shameless plugs. This is great.
We are your
So
shameless
what-
plugs.
Subscribe to Matt the DM, or you'll be forced to endure the Moss lectures.
Good thing I've
Gareth
already
is creating
subscribed.
It's just pictures of moss on like a 24-hour loop.
Coming soon to
Please.
YouTube.
Hit the like button. It's the only thing that saves us from boss.
Please,
So,
please
I kind
like
of-
the video.
I kind of picture this almost
So
like from
what we're rolling-
Futurama.
I mean, I was thinking like every now and again his voice comes in, and this is the larch.
I was thinking more on the lines of Hypnotoad, personally, but
I was going along Monty Python, but fair enough.
Matt doesn't have adverts. It's just a picture. It's just Gareth sort of like doing voiceovers for Moss.
anybody who can do voiceovers for Moss need to be given a wage, in my opinion. If you can accurately represent what Moss actually talks like, then you deserve recognition.
No, it's just Gareth doing conversations of Moss. It's sort of like actually doing talks about Moss, like David Attenborough style.
It is the common green. They had no predators.
Common green. You and you unmossed.
There's no predators.
You can tell who's never been to a lecture.
Yeah.
No, it's an Attenborough, so I presume documentary. He's going to be out there in the field, getting up close with it.
Yeah, and how many mosses are called common green moss?
If he says
It's
something that's
Attenborough, he
enough.
doesn't. Yeah, he always goes through. This is the common green, known as Mossicus navicus communis.
Yeah.
Which, funnily enough, going back to Warhammer 40,000, was the same name as the ship I was playing in Warhammer 40k. There you go.
Okay.
Actually, no, it wasn't. That was a complete lie. I was just trying to see if you believed me. No, I wasn't.
Given
Actually,
the
it's
type
everything.
of people that we hang
You are-
around with, I don't
Oh
know
God,
anything.
we believe everything.
Considering, I like that. Considering who you're hanging around, I wouldn't discount it. Thank
I
you,
learned
Alex.
that lesson ages ago.
Serious business now. This is Star Trek.
So,
Yeah, not even I can keep a straight face on that.
fixing these engines then.
Right.
Oh.
Yes.
We're just fixing the warp. We're just powering up the warp core first.
Well, we powered up the warp core.
Done the warp core, now we're
is
getting your
already up.
impulse drive.
Now we need to
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
specific engines on. This is only going to be difficulty 1, and this is going to be a control and engineering task. If you want extra help on it, that's fine. But once again, due to the delicate nature of what's going on, I am adding another threat to up the complication range.
In which case, using my value of 6 impossible things before breath.
Would
Which
this be
replaces-
impossible or just plain difficult?
Oh yeah, this one's just plain difficult, so hard work required.
There you go. Hard working,
Throw a
yeah, that's more like it.
determination at that. So, throw a determination at it.
So it's only 1 difficulty, but the threat range is up, and you're fine. So, propulsion systems are now coming back online, which brings us nicely to those folks on the Samson and the Carpathia. So let's take us away from the engine ambience, and let's go back to the runabout and the fighter. So, Natala, not really here now because she's doing something else with comms. So let's get these guys to try and do their maneuver to try and make it look as if this is some sort of military exercise. Excuse me. So, well, if this is going to be basically flying a trick pattern or what have you, then this is more than likely going to be a control and con check from Ensign Lenny as well. So, Gareth, since you're not getting as many rolls as everybody else, do you want to take Lenny? Now,
As I say, not Lenny.
given the fact that you're not only trying to pull off a rather difficult maneuver, but also sell a lie, I am going to throw the difficulty of this up to 3. And of course...
Craft as a focus?
Yes, indeed. Warp small craft as a focus. Difficulty 3 with a complication range of 1920. 1 success. Needs 2 successes from Fazanan.
I'll use my Legion of Honor.
Ooh. Give it a click so we can see the text come up. There we go. Lovely. Thank you. Once per mission, the character may do one of the following. Gain 2 bonus momentum on a successful task, or ignore a single complication. Declared before I announce the complication's effect. So you can still spot that there's a complication, but not before. You have to do it before I get to actually saying what the complication means. Interesting. You got to race the GM. I like it.
And I'll use a point of momentum.
Righty-ho. Off you go. Already have 1 success. We just need 2 more.
And I'll use my Legion of Honor for the complication.
All right then. I didn't get the chance. Nicely done. So, yes, you begin putting in a little bit of additional power, or as much as is needed, additional power to start winging this, tug maneuver in a direction that seems to give the impression that this is not as an out of control maneuver as it actually appears to be. So yes, Keval and Lenny, working together, managed to pool their efforts and swing the Navis around in such a way that it looks like it's now a little bit more in control of the situation and is ready to answer a threat at a moment's notice. The fact that you can read the impulse engines are coming back online is a great relief, because you can swear that there's 1 more Klingon ship than there was the last time you looked. And they are still mirroring the Navis's course, just on their side of the border. Nicely done. Now, let's jump back to the bridge, as we are going to get let's go to... It's going to be a bit faster if we go to Natala and Keshen, trying to tether sensors to the 2 smaller vessels, which would give them extra reason to be out there even after the impulse engines come back online, because they can use the 2 small craft staying on the outside of the Navis as mobile sensors, basically. So let's have, well, let's see, Natala can basically give me control and engineering, I suppose, since you're using comms in a way that's it's not usually meant to, but it's not outside of its capabilities to do so.
Do you
What was
say
that, sorry?
engineering?
Control and engineering.
Engineering, my mind went. I thought you said engineering. I was like, wait,
Either
what?
you were losing your mind or I was, so I'm glad it wasn't me. Wrong system if that was the case. I'll rewind that bit later and see if I did actually say engineering.
Is this the end where you rolled and into engineering?
Let's see. Let's hope so. Otherwise I've committed a cardinal sin, and I'll have to lose another threat. Gareth, do you want to take the place of Vincent Keshen, who will also be doing control and engineering using subspace communications as a focus, but only rolling 1. Natala can, of course,
Sensor operations, I guess.
Sensor operations, yes, because you're patching sensor operations through communications. That's fine. Keshen gets a 1. Wow! Gareth, whenever you pilot one of the supporting characters, they get really good successes. 2 successes, which was
supporting
exactly...
characters.
The king of the supporting characters. 2 successes, 3 successes in total, so that's 1 above what you needed. You successfully managed to patch sensors from the 2 external vessels to the internal My deadly support skills. Let's zip ourselves now, in that case, over to Nova before we deal with the hard reset of the systems. So, Nova is examining the defensive systems to see if there's any signs of sabotage, as Mr. Shatner would say.
Sabotage.
So, I'm going to need... let's see. Is this going to be an insight and engineering check for Nova, because she's using what she remembers and what she can see. This will be difficulty 1, and I won't up the complication range this time.
Sorry, one of these, and just because I've not used one yet.
Got a plethora of these awards. It was like, eeny, meeny, miny, that one.
And I could know my ship again.
Yep, sure, makes sense. You'd know what to look for. Be out of place. I mean, let's just go with that. 3, gee willikers. 3 successes! Right.
4, 5.
5 even, yes, because of, quite.
Yeah.
Criminy. Nova has a good old look over the physical parts of the defensive systems, and thankfully Nova finds nothing out of place, no evidence of tampering, subtle or overt. So it looks like the tampering that happened in the starboard nacelle hasn't been echoed here. You're very confident of that fact. So that could either mean that the tampering was only isolated to that one area, as well as the sensor control systems, or the saboteur hasn't gotten there yet, or something else that may not have occurred to you or me to mention.
If that's the case, then can I set up a trigger to warn me if somebody else comes into this area?
Yeah, I mean, Bravo could just as easily place guards as some security around to, send a message if anybody notices something.
But with the amount of paranoia going on in the ship, Nova doesn't trust that.
Good point, yes. She's an emotional sponge, so... Considering the computer systems are about to get a hard reset, anything you set up would have to be independent of the computer system, which would suggest your good friend Hello.
Yep.
So Hello could give way to Lieutenant Monod, as Hello receives basically a directive from Nova to go through the cat run in order to come out.
Is this a bypassing security protocol moment again?
This is not so much bypassing security protocol as is Hello is just being asked to sit at a location and send a notification.
It's an upgrade.
Start upgrading the systems. The already prototype phaser banks.
Why is the security system online without any power?
Andrews looks over and
based off your instructions, sir.
It's not even on battery backup though. That's the problem. It's just running.
Andrews looks over and sees this cute little robot running and juddering as he's plugged into the security system with sparks coming off him. The whole thing's running off of Hello. Okay, yeah. So Hello is beckoned over and can surreptitiously place itself in an area that allows it to look out for anybody who might want to come in. Since Hello at this moment is still very independent of. You did build Hello with its own remote communication system, so but that does technically run off of the communication system of the ship. The communication system of the ship, however, is still running. So yeah, sorry, you were going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say use the ship's power and communications bouncing, but I imagine he's got direct contact himself between him and his drone, just not.
That's what I was
maybe
trying
to
to
others.
articulate, but failing to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Possibly
Cool.
to Keval, because he's been plugged into Keval before, so he's in the network.
Wait a minute. Over a drone to hello? Did you just openly admit that?
Now Keval is.
Keval starts twitching at
Not
his
only
console.
do we have a changeling on board, we also have Unimatrix 3.
I haven't scratched anything recently.
Must up power to defensive systems. Keval starts hearing whispers from his eye implant, as if someone's trying to whisper instructions to him, because that's not creepy at all. Anyway, moving on.
We're all against you. They all must die.
I can't do that, Andrews.
At least we're
Keval,
sticking to
open
the
cargo
sci-fi.
bay doors, please. Keval, open the cargo bay doors. I can't do that, Andrews.
We did just set up a cargo bay as quarantine, so that might actually be foreshadowing them.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Right then, this means we can now finally get over to our intrepid computer technicians, who are now in the primary computer core. So, yep, I've got general room ambience. So, yeah, you guys have got access now to the physical data stacks that exist as the system, the main plugin. Oh God, I'm losing my ability to speak. You're in the computer core. You have access to the computer core. You can do what you wanted to do.
Big stack full of isolinear chips.
Yes, the stacks full of isolating chips. You can move them about, take out the current ones, and insert the battery back, the backups.
Just don't play poker with them.
I suppose this is basically don't
Or
get
Jenga.
this wrong. Don't insert the wrong chip. Oop, who did we lose?
Oh, we lost someone. Shaun again.
No, Shaun's still there.
No, I'm here.
We lost Gareth.
Gareth.
We've lost our doctor.
So, what am I doing? Would it be...
Right,
Control
so this is going to definitely be control.
Not engineering?
Ooh, good question. This is physically taking things out and putting them in the right place and starting them up again. I'm going to go with engineering. And until Gareth gets back... Oh, speak of the devil, and you get Gareth instead.
Sorry, for some reason I got a weird blip in my connection.
Well, you're back
I'm
just
gonna-
in time to take command of Ensign Kirst.
I'd like to grab a momentum.
Of course. This is going to be difficulty 2 because of the precise nature of the work, and I'm going to spend a threat on upping the complication range because of, well... put the wrong thing in the wrong place, and, Ooh, blimey! Right then.
Nailed it.
You did indeed.
For Kirst?
Control and engineering with a focus on computer systems, or computers.
Okay.
I just realised how much threat you've gone through.
Yes!
Oh dear.
That's fine, it's all on Edwards.
Oh, no, that's a complication. You said you increased the range.
Aha! Is there anything anybody has? Is there anything that Edwards has?
Nothing to negate that kind of thing,
Okay.
as far as I can see.
So, the good news is that you go through the motions. It takes a bit of time, and you do warn everybody ahead of time that you're about to do the hard reset, the restoring of a previous backup image. Must concentrate on delicate controls. Ooh, that looks like string. Yes. Kirst
No,
wasn't
it's gonna
exactly
be-
paying much attention. She is indeed not usually... She hasn't been seconded to engineering for quite some time. She's...
Yeah.
Yes, she's in the technical sciences and is used to doing work on computers. She's never actually done a full restoration of a backup system to the entire computer network. Or the entire computer
looks like
system.
you won't be doing it again for a while.
Well, exactly. So Edwards has to catch Curse before she makes too bad a mistake. Thankfully, you managed to pulling out the current memory sticks and inserting the previous ones and starting systems back up again. You are able to put the backup through and restore to the previous saved version. All the systems come back online with a various consoles on the bridge and engineering and all the other highly necessary systems come back online after their brief downtime, and everything appears to be working correctly. All right. So that's all taken some time. Now, thankfully, because of what you have so far managed to do, the Navis no longer looks like it is going to drift over the Klingon border. You still have Klingons keeping a very close eye on you from their side of things, but the Navis now appears to no longer be in danger of drifting over, but you are still, at the moment, without warp propulsion. You at least have impulse again. You only have sensors. Actually, sensors will be coming back now. So, external sensors and internal sensors are back online. But you can still keep the communication lines with the two smaller ships open for the moment.
Now that we've got impulse back online, our primary mission in the area is to offer aid. So we should return back to that plan. Obviously keeping a very close eye on the Klingons.
Now, all you've got at the moment is impulse speed.
Yeah, that's fine. We can just proceed at impulse. Until we get the warp drive back online, we proceed at maximum impulse to where we're heading.
That will take some time. We're talking days now instead of hours.
I thought you said hours. I know it was hours to the Klingon border.
Yes. So you're still skirting the Klingon border, and you're on a direct line for the Yule Minor system, but you've yet to actually make the Yule Minor system.
Can we double bluff again as well and send out a communication on a very low encrypted channel to say that to basically kind of inform Starfleet that we've had contact with Klingons in the area proceeding to patrol location 7. Message again at rendezvous point with additional fleet.
Okay, so we're trying to bluff them. So that's what Andrews and Keshen are going to do. Now that things are starting to get rolling again, what does everybody else want to do? Let's start with what's next for Vivers.
Right. So we've got 2 broken nacelles, one that's a horrible burnt to a crisp, and one that's overworked and will need the work be out to go and do some tweaking potentially.
Correct.
But I'd probably worth getting a second diagnosis on that one. So,
I think I can fix the broken one.
Edward, the one that's burnt or the one that has been overworked and
the burnt one.
Cool. Do you want to work with Edwards on that then, and I'll get the overworked one fixed?
It doesn't even ask how.
Unless you want to go over this. There's 2 problems, and she's picked one.
Nova's like, I can fix it. Vibers didn't even question how. It's like, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
See, Vibers has absolute trust in Nova.
You don't ask Nova how. If you ask how, then you're to blame for the problem. You review the solution.
You take
after
the liability.
You view the solution after, and you fit it in your maintenance bag. Be fine.
You ask her for the detailed notes of why she did it now. So you can backtrack it.
I mean, if we're relying on Nova to fix a vital system independently without asking questions, there is some way of getting some control of the situation.
Have a check in the cell?
No, it's just if we don't want Nova to be worrying and paranoid, don't let the crew be worried and paranoid. So, with Nova busy doing engineering things, we could do some command work to basically up morale to make the ship's crew be kind of thinking kind of efficiently and dedicatedly. That increases the chance of Nova doing things in an efficient and dedicated way.
Okay, that sounds like something
So
the
what
captain
you're
could
saying is, Nova works in a way that means you have to think happy thoughts.
Yes.
That's been well established.
Episode. Are you saying you are that little boy that makes people think happy thoughts?
No, Nova is literally a mirror of the crew. She's the head of morale, because morale is in her head.
Think happy thoughts or something will happen to you. He'll send you to the cornfield.
So,
And this is why you were taken off comms, Mr. Changer.
And you're no longer invited.
Yeah, you're no longer invited to the happy party.
No party hat for you.
So what was Andrews doing again? Sorry, just so I can try and keep things in my head.
Andrews is trying to double bluff the Klingons to say that
Right.
we
Andrews
have
and the
deliberately slowed
comms,
down
right,
to
yeah.
impulse.
Vibers is going to try and work the overworked nacelle, whilst Nova goes to repair the sabotaged nacelle.
Which, if it's what Vibers is currently thinking, which is entirely based off his really bad rolls from earlier, he's going to have to use the replicators on board and a work bee to replace some parts of the nacelle in flight.
Now, most of the damage to the nacelle is on the interior rather than the exterior, so you can get away with not having to use the worker bee. But, yeah, maybe the dots are going to be needed for the internal systems. Excuse me. But yes, you've got work ahead of you, both of you. So, as far as crew morale goes, I mean, Captain Ducasse is available to you guys to use in that manner, should you wish to. This does introduce the question. Sorry, John, I talked over you there.
Yep.
Okay. This does introduce the question of what are the two smaller craft doing? Are they staying out there now that the Navis is underneath its own power? Or are they redocking with the main ship and Keval can get back to his seat on the Helm?
I think they'd be recalled if we were planning to get to warp speeds.
Sounds reasonable. Was everyone else on board with that?
Yep.
I'm going to go with yep. Okay. So, Keval and Keshin... Sorry, Lenny. That's Keshin. That's why I thought Keshin. Lenny, get recalled.
I'll do a few flybys and fly-arounds with the fighter just to put it through its paces.
Keval wants just a bit longer with the new toy.
Now that we have transporters back in, now we have the control back, is that he doesn't get an option. Just wheel him in. Wheel him in.
Right, I'm just going to put Bravo over here along with Hello, just so I remember that Hello is doing security, looking out for that. I'm just going to keep Andrews over near Keshin, just so I've got a visual prompt to remind me what's going on. What's Natala doing?
Natala's going to assist the captain with calming everything down and getting the crew of the right mindset.
I am the
Doing
voice of the
speech
crew.
writing and prompt writing.
Yes, cool. Okay, groovy. So that's what you're doing. The doctor was going to go and have a word with the medical crew, of course. I forgot about that. Sorry, Gareth.
Okay.
I'll address that in just a moment then, in that case.
Okay.
That leaves us with Edwards and Kirst. Well, in light of what's just gone on, you've managed to do the hard restarts. Not the hard restart, you've restored the backup. Everything seems to be working again and things are getting rolling again, so what does Edwards want to do now?
Depends if he's specifically needed anywhere, he'll help out or waiting for other orders. If he's allowed free time, he... I'm not too sure. I'm intrigued to try and see if I can track down the saboteur, but it's like I'm trying to think how I could actually do it.
It's one of those of, is the saboteur still on board, or was it deliberately done so that it failed when it did? Because if the program was altered, it could have happened at the same time.
Do I have an estimate, or can I make an estimate for how long I think a loose piece would take to basically fail?
Yeah, so... The fact that it was...
Terribly convenient. It's
What
so
was that,
close
Jan?
to the Klingon border.
Yeah.
It's terribly convenient that it's so close to the Klingon border.
Yeah, it feels deliberate and timed. So
Well, with what was found, we know it was definitely done. It's... I can't remember... sorry, the science team are still on the ship, aren't they?
The disease response team, yeah, they're still very much
Yeah.
on the...
The only thing I could think of to eliminate the fact if it was someone that might have disappeared off, because we were on a Federation base, so there'd been security in and out when we docked up, would be to check to see... So I imagine every comms unit has its own signature that sort of would be scanned or logged as it moved into the ship, or something like that. Somewhere to be able to find people, isn't it? Because they use it to lock on for transporter locks.
I mean, one option is how
So-
closely do you need to scan someone to find whether they've got the kind of markers of genetic modification that is used for espionage?
So was he really? It depends. Didn't they everyone go through the whole changing check before they went?
We went through changeling check. We didn't go through genetic engineering markers.
Yeah, but that means there'd be DNA samples taken, so you could probably run through them.
No, because
it's just a blood check.
Yeah, it's just a blood check.
I mean, I was just saying, would the samples still be stored, or would they just be removed, destroyed as soon as they're
dispose of them.
I don't think you even need a sample. It's quite literally, do you bleed?
The people who recently joined the crew at the station, their blood samples might still be not disposed of yet.
That depends
if
on
you're
what
after
protocols the doctor
genetics-
employs.
And if one is for genetic stuff, you can always check the transporter logs.
Only 2 came in on transporter, the rest came in via shuttle.
Correct.
Yeah, I would recommend that the doctor performs a. Basically, we because of the situation we're currently finding ourselves in, we word it so that the crew, the civilian crew, well, not the civilian crew, the relief crew are asked to attend into a another area of the ship, and they have to go through the bioscanners, and ask the doctor to perform the in-depth genetic scan on the way out for all of them. Because then it doesn't look like we're suspicious of any of them, but at the same time we are making sure that none of them have
Practice run for
manipulation.
quarantine procedure, because as far as I know, the ship hasn't gone through it. So it'd be a drill to go through the actual, checking for
We're
foreign
taking them down to the cargo bay we've set up for quarantine, and we're using that to confirm this. These DNA scanners are going to be set up. Put them in next to the quarantine systems.
A training run, because I can see Andrews would have instilled that before we got to it, because you prefer to be prepared. So go through the things so everyone knows what to do. because, as I said, as far as I've been playing this game, you've not done a quarantine run.
And we did just set it all up for this, so yeah.
When it comes to Edwards, he'd probably be assisting the Doctor as the best way he could in that case, because that'd be more the Doctor's forte.
Interesting. Okie dokie.
But then again, he didn't do very well when he was assigned under the med bay, so it depends entirely what Dr. Bertram wants to do, I suppose.
Okay. Well then, let's deal with the nitty-gritty first. The two smaller ships are brought back after Keval has his 5 minutes of just one more loop. Breaking in the Samson, making sure it's up to specifications. But then, unfortunately, he's called back to take his place as Chief Helm Officer of the Navis, as the systems are now coming back online. Andrews and Keshen are going to send a false signal. So Andrews, this is going to be a presence and command, I'm going to go here, as a means of trying to pull the wool off somebody else's eyes. Whereas if I can get Gareth to do a support with Ensign Keshen, who is just going to be transmitting comms, so it's going to be control and science for Keshen, I think. The science of communication.
Can I learn a determination? Survival at any costs?
Sure. It's not at any cost, but I'll allow it.
Or,
2-6.
or the
Good
of the
thought,
Federation.
Gareth!
Wait, yeah, hold the line then for mine.
Please support! We will give support until the Klingons are
Right.
begging us to take
Let's
the
use that
victory.
one. 1d6. No,
2.
thanks. Don't get it back.
Okay.
Okay, so would survival training or battlefield tactics is a focus?
Yeah,
on
you're
this?
trying to do a battlefield-related switch bluff kind of thing here. So yeah, battlefield tactics would run in. Woo! Limey day! You are very convincing. So Ensign Keshen can confirm that the message you want went out. It was encrypted enough to invite potential interest from the Klingons, you hope, but it was not encrypted so much that it would be that difficult to break. So that's actually very nice of you. It gives the Klingons a false sense of accomplishment. Makes them feel special about themselves. So yes, you succeed in your little ruse. You're giving them the impression that you're now on patrol along the border, and are proceeding to Area 7, wherever Area 7's going to be. Let's move, in that case, let's put Andrews back to where she should be. Let's do a brief thing with Captain Ducasse and Commander Natala in regards to trying to lift the spirits of the crew so that when Nova does her thing, she's a little bit more peppy about it rather than doing the whole suspicious eyes at everybody. So, because Jan didn't get a chance to do anything in a bit, let's have Jan being Captain Ducasse this time. This is going to be presence and command for the captain, and Natala is supporting, I suppose?
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously Captain Ducasse has got team dynamics and that kind of thing for, and lead by example to give her focuses to do this. You're also free to use the captain's determinations. This is going to be...
Potentially use one of the Natala's, actually. I am the voice of the crew.
There's that too. So that would give you the... If both characters use determinations, that would be the full 5.
Mm-hmm.
The full 5 dice. It's going to be difficulty 1. And with the fact that you're using determinations, or at least one of you's using determinations, that's... So if I can get Natala's first. 1 dice. Well, it's going to be 2 dice, I know, but you're only rolling 1 and your determination. Presence and command. And then we'll have Jan roll for the captains. Off you go, Jan. Let's see how well the captain
I don't
does.
think the captain needs any to use any determination on this one.
Probably not at this rate. 3 successes as well, so yes, blimey. The captain and Natala issue statements throughout the ship that whatever happened has been taken care of, and that we're now proceeding with best possible speed towards the outbreak so that we can respond to that as quickly as possible. So everything is looking up. Make sure everybody puts on their best smiles if they're going past any of the starboard outer viewing ports, so they can wave to the Klingons as they go by.
We don't want to give it overconfidence.
And warp power will be restored in no time, they're sure. Speaking of, let's go quickly to Vibers. Give us a daring and engineering check to see how much you can manage to fix on the port nacelle. I'll make this difficulty 2 because of the damage, or the strain, as you quite rightly put. Actually, no, I'll save my threat for now. So, daring and engineering, whenever you're ready, Davis.
He's muted, so I'm not sure if he's there.
Cool. Then let's do Novas. Same thing.
I am here.
He's back.
I'm just talking on mute because I'm Right. Okay, let's see. None of these focuses are that helpful for this one.
No. No, not really. Although, no, actually, no, you're quite right.
Yeah.
However,
Oh, well.
warp field dynamics does apply, actually, because this is the nacelle that generates the warp field, so...
Yeah, I was going through talents.
Oh, right, I see. Pardon me.
I said focus. The brain. Right. Okay. Let's see what we get.
Alright, looking good. So, yep, you have to replace a few bits and pieces and reinforce the structural integrity of some. It's going to need testing, which will take a bit of time, but now it seems you've got some time, so that shouldn't be a problem.
But it looks like we're not going to have to replace the main warp coils in here in flight. That's at least one benefit.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Hopefully, the reinforcing that you've done will hold when warp flight capability is restored. Nova, daring and engineering.
Yeah. So Nova is just going to literally bypass everything that's broken, any security protocol that should be turning this thing off is just going to be turned off.
So this is definitely going to be tinkering and experimentation.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm getting at. It's pure jury rigging everything.
Who's seen Picard season 3?
Yep.
With there's that scene where there's a big explosion when a shuttle hits an nacelle.
Something. Yeah.
Yes, it's like something like that, maybe.
Ba-boom.
Kaboom.
Off you go, Shaun.
Hold on, I'm not done. So
Difficulty
this is
2.
purely theoretical work. Chance 1.
Yep.
Never done this before.
Hey.
Chance that. And I'm amazing at tinkering.
Yes, indeed. All coming together. Blimey. Difficulty 2. I'm not using threat to up the complication range, so... double the benefits of a determination. Good lordy. Hoo-yah!
So that's 6.
Yes. So, much to Nova's delight, she plugs in the various systems, bypasses a great many, switches some things around, and gives it a quick scan with a tricorder, and in a way that defies logic, it seems like it might actually work.
I inadvertently booby trap it as well, so if anybody touches
Ooh.
anything, it electrocutes them.
With that many successes, I will go with yes. Yes, you can. So if anybody tries to monkey with it, they're going to get a literal nasty shock. Which brings us finally to when Edwards and the good doctor are in the primary science labs.
Just checking so I got it right in my head. What is it exactly that Andrews is asking us to do?
Basically inform the emergency, the disease outbreak response team of what's going on.
Yeah.
And if she gets shirty about it, deal with it.
Right. Yeah, we're going to be going through the drill of going through this as well to prepare ourselves as a security precaution. Now things have calmed down. But while we're doing this, you're going to be looking for anyone. Was it with Orion markers, genetic markers, or any kind of?
Klingon genetic markers.
Okay.
Yeah, that I think there's a bit of disconnect there. So
right. So what? What Andrews was asking Bertram to do was, as well as explain what's going on, was to tell them that they're going to be taken to a safe part of the ship, and that course will just happen to take you past the bioscanners.
Okie dokie.
Oh, it's been changed. Then I thought we were doing the drill thing.
No, this happened before that.
Oh, sorry.
Right. So we're taking them to a secure place due to what suspected sabotage.
No,
yes.
Don't mention suspected sabotage.
We got to give them a reason why we're taking them to a safe place.
This was why we were saying the quarantine stuff.
Yeah.
From Edwards. So you're taking them to the cargo bay we set up for quarantine because that's the excuse, and we're using the bioscanners there.
Right. Yeah. Right. So it's not the safe because we seem to be going all kind of merging several different incompatible stories. That's what's confusing me.
Yeah.
That's why I got confused.
Yeah. So basically, we need the team to go and check out the cargo bay.
Yeah,
and
the quarantine. We need
area.
We need them to do a full sweep of the quarantine system.
Yeah.
In order to make sure that it's all working the way they want it to, because we've recently had a problem with the ship, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's a good story, I like that.
Okay. Right then, go there and go see the team.
Cool, so you are in the corridor for these science labs, and they are behind this door here, right in front of the Bertram. So, entering in through the door, you will find the team are busy about their analysis work. Some of them are on consoles, some of them are looking at replicated biosamples. You can see consoles that have got readings, preliminary readings of what the disease might be. So they're looking through things that might be related. Dr. Ram, of course, nods to Dr. Bertram as he comes in, and is everything all right, Doctor?
Mostly, Dr. Ram. The situation has got back into control. However, we are requesting your team's help for the quarantine facility we're setting up in one of the cargo bays. Both due to the issues that we've been having and to make sure that everything's compatible given your expertise and with your specialist equipment and knowledge.
Very well. You sure I shouldn't just leave my team here? I mean, I can just take Hunsley with me. He's the tech guy on this. He would make sure that all the parts are working.
As convenient might be, speed is now the issue, and also because of the issues, we need to make absolutely sure the last thing we want to do is to get anything wrong because we weren't careful enough.
Very well, I see the point. We can't do much more here anyway, because at this point we're only guessing. Very well, team, let's move out. We have to inspect the quarantine protocols in the cargo in the primary shuttle bay. Let's move. Excuse me.
We take. Yeah. Bravo security did go with them. Is he picking up any kind of? Are any of them now feeling a little uneasy?
Okay. So is Bravo going to do this before everybody comes out, or while people are moving towards the shuttle bay?
Bit of both. Just
bit of both.
Continually, just sort of like, just slowly.
Do you want to give me the insight and command check then, please, Webby, since you came up with the notion? For
Insight and command.
He has now got a focus for telepathy, so.
My duty is to protect the crew. We can burn his determination as well.
Yes, indeed.
Everyone up for that?
Good for that.
You want?
Yeah, burn it. Ha!
Burn it all.
I used a determined task value, and we rolled a dicey.
Okay, nice. Alright, so the good doctor and her team are led out and down the corridors towards the main shuttle bay. And as they're going, Bravo is just kind of surreptitiously putting out mental feelers along the group, and feels what he expects from Dr. Rahm, a woman of fierce focus and determination. The others are all, at the moment, a bit... At least one of the team is a bit miffed that she had to put down her work and is now being dragged across to do other work because she really hates having her train of thought interrupted, but have to check the equipment. And it's when Bravo finally reaches across to the mind of Lieutenant Huntsley that he picks up something that seems to verge on alarm coming off of Huntsley, and it's at that specific point that the lights in that corridor section go out. And when they come back on, Huntsley's not there.
Right, so
and that's where we're leaving it for tonight.
Yeah. Just to make sure is that remind myself is that Bravo would be sending out a security alarm, so
and that'll be for next time. But
yeah, I'm just
Must
gonna
be
put a message
Romulans.
I'm just gonna put a message in the chat, so otherwise I forget.
Definitely Romulans.
It's always
What deck are we on? Deck 4?
I think it's Tribbles.
It could be Tribbles.
Oh no, not nurse at all. No, there we go.
The Tribbles plan to make the Federation and the Klingons fight on it so they can come in and end the long war.
Finally win the war against the Klingons.
Might have been one of those genetically modified attack Tribbles that we saw in Star Trek Picard, Season 3. Well, thank you very much for everyone who tuned into the stream. If you could hear the background ambience and that kind of stuff, that's great. It means we didn't have too much of a problem. If so, very sorry about that. I'll try and fix it for next time. But for all of you who are watching, thank you very much for tuning in. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then make sure to leave a like, because that then at least gives us and everyone else of the same ilk who do actual plays a bit of a boost on the old algorithm, so that our AI masters can think a little better of us. In the meantime, I would wish you all to live long and prosper and to look after each other, and hopefully we'll see you next week for the resolution of this episode. Hailing frequencies closed.